My boys always. I like dread it. I don't. Usually it was nothing.
Do you have to go? Because I don't remember everyone.
When I went into, when the kids were in high school, I just reached out. Teacher said, call me if you need to talk to me. Personally, I don't want to go to the.
Oh, good. Nice job.
Okay, super.
So it's just you.
Okay.
Joe Harrell is on
Oh.
also. Wait,
Oh, where'd Joe
He
go?
was.
does anyone else need admitted into the meeting? Oh, there's one.
Do we need to record that thing? Oh, she's already did it. She already did.
Oh, no, I didn't turn it on yet, though. I didn't want to record all the ridiculousness.
Sorry.
Never. Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. I would like everyone, or to welcome everyone here. I'm sorry, we are starting a little bit late. Yeah, we'll call this meeting to order at 6:08. And again, I apologize, we are having some technical difficulties. So let's start off with roll call, please.
Ms. Harbor present.
Tammy Crossan, present.
Holly Roberts present.
Goodwood Espenscheid present.
All right, fantastic. So this evening, so I think technically this is a workshop, correct? So what we are discussing tonight is our tower code development. Again, for a reminder for anybody that was not here before, we won't be making any final decisions tonight. We're just going to be going over more of the policy and code, hoping to get it closed out here within the next meeting or so, but we won't make any final decisions this evening. So, Haley, do you want to go ahead and start off? We are very thankful. Our administrator worked some serious magic and put together some great documents for us to kind of break this down. Again, those of you, if there's anybody that's just joining us, we didn't have any sort of a tower code or policy in the past. So we're starting from scratch. And so we are trying to work our way through this. And so Haley was kind enough to take a lot of time to put some good resources together to break this down. So do you want to go ahead and start?
Thanks.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So at the last meeting, started at the beginning, the general provisions and or reviewed purpose and then general provisions and some of the definitions. Oh, Lance just said that the link is not working.
Oh,
But someone else from the public is in the link. Sorry, guys. Yes. There's so many places that this link is live. Nuts.
It's working. I just got on.
I know, but I'm wondering if it was. This was like a special meeting, so I had to create a new calendar event. Wondering if.
Might be easier. Does he have a phone number?
No, I took that one off. I actually just emailed him where to find it.
Okay.
Did you get it from the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so last meeting, we went through the purpose, general provisions, and we discussed definitions. And I think the main definitions that came up that needed a review was small wireless facilities. And then we also went through the exempt facilities. And just what do we want to consider an exempt facility? There were some deletions from the discussion. So what I did after last week's meeting, I included the deletions in this updated code. Whatever we deleted, whatever we moved, I made those changes. Some other changes that I made were more format change to try to help with the flow of the regulation. Before it seemed like it was just broken down in a way, me personally, I just was struggling to follow the regulation and where things were coming from. We talked about permit requirements in different places and things that were repetitive or just broken apart. So I tried to make this flow where the beginning, we have our section 1 purpose, section 2 general provisions, section 3 facility types and special provisions, which if we wanted change or general provisions was section 2, I'm sorry. And then section 3 is facility types and special provisions. And everything that's in here, I did not make any contextual changes. So it's all the same content, just a little reorganized. So section 3, it goes through each different facility type. So we have exempt facilities, small wireless facilities, and then the macro cells and other towers. Then section 4 is the conditional use permit and height variance, and it just goes through the requirement of that. Section 5 is long-term permit compliance. We can rename these. And other towers. Then section 4 is the conditional use permit and height variance, and it just goes through the requirement of that. Section 5. Can we mute Lance?
Lance, can you mute yours?
Section 5 is more long-term compliance, and that goes through things that I felt like were more with after the permit's been issued, with the restoration, inspections, maintenance, and abandonment. And section 6, which is still labeled section 5, is miscellaneous. And I think there is still room for improvement with some of these things with permit requirements. What has to be submitted to the county? What do we want to see with each of these different types of towers with the submittals? I think there's room for improvement there. It still is vague to me what all is required with each of the submittals. But a lot of it is here. It just seems like some of the topics that we talk about for the small wireless facilities, do we want all of those things for everything else also? So should it be more of a general discussion? So I think the restructure, though, it breaks it into 3 categories. And I created this flow chart. The reason I did this is more to try to break it into the categories and then talk about each category and figure out what zone districts do we want the categories to fall in. Where it's rather than looking at this a big picture, small wireless facilities, we could focus on that first. And then the macro facilities, we can focus on that second. And then start going down the flow chart and figuring out what zone districts do we want this in if you're less than 50 feet versus if you're over 50 feet, or just trying to look at this more from a policy perspective. So there is a list of questions that's in the agenda packet on page 2. Sorry, I did not print an agenda for you. Just use your phone,
Okay.
please.
Oh, actually, I was gonna say, I think so.
I will go ahead and share my screen too.
Yeah, I've got that one.
I'm sorry that I did not print you an agenda. I forgot that you like to have yours printed.
Looks like, yeah.
Here. Here. Chair.
Okay.
Great.
We'll just cuddle up.
Yeah, that's gonna work.
And we did receive comments back
Feel free to.
from Steve. Thanks, Steve, for providing those comments. And LR also provided us with some additional comments today. And we have a Word document that is on our OneDrive folder. And if you guys have your own laptops, if you want to come in the office and I can show you how to like add this onto your desktop, because I just noticed Christy clicked on it and it went to Internet Explorer and you had to access it from Internet Explorer. So that I was like, this does not look user friendly. So I think if you could add it into your OneDrive so you can actually open the Word document, it might be more useful for you guys to be able to go in and actually, if we all can use this one Word document, provide comments in one single document, and we can even be in the document at the same time. So if other people want to be in the document right now, you can get in there and be providing comments in there, but all the union comments and the LR
Let's see
comments
that.
are in this Word document. Unfortunately, I was trying to print the comments, but the formatting, it was not going well. So it just kept cutting off the comments. So I was not able to print those for everybody tonight. But if you have access to the OneDrive, and I'm sorry, I should have, maybe in the future, are you guys
So
able to
y'all
bring computers with you or?
Mhm.
Okay, I think it might
I
be
have
helpful.
mine.
Okay.
I'm
you
just
have
very
yours.
much a,
Okay, okay, maybe we should see if somehow we could get your OneDrive to work, because being able to access all the documents, I'm trying to keep all comments in that OneDrive folder, so anything that we receive, any references are in that OneDrive folder for everyone's use, at least everyone's use that's here, everyone that's joining on Teams or the public. I'm also trying to include this information in
There
the
it is.
agenda packets for everyone, but if we're getting comments last minute, I just can't include it in the agenda
Sorry.
packet.
It's
Doing
my
great.
life story. Feel free.
Okay.
And thankfully, we have Clayton here tonight as well. So if we had any, like, some of the major questions that we wanted to run by Clayton, we can do that too. So.
So how are we are we gonna just start in and go through what Haley's provided for us and say any of our comments as we reading through that we would change or date or modify?
or do we want to start with the policy questions to consider? Start there?
I think if we went through the policy questions, I think we should try to just keep this real quick
Uh-huh.
and not hone in on like one question and spend an hour on one question. I
Mhm.
think it would be really beneficial if we could just. How would you be?
Did your computer go to sleep?
No, it's
Oh.
on that thing.
Oh,
I think folks are still there. It just,
Okay, Lance is still here. I think
it's probably just going to sleep.
I think it would be helpful if we just talked about these briefly. Maybe some, if we need to just put a star next to them, we can come back. But I don't want us to get too locked into one question.
I agree, because I think that you did a great job of getting these questions together, because really we answer these questions and it's gonna
It's going to fit
answer
somewhere.
fit somewhere and or fix things. Like, so where we don't have to go through, maybe not have to go through every single bullet point of,
At least for right now.
right?
And I think that would help Clayton and I when it comes to, if everyone is comfortable with after this, me in looking at things and figuring out what can we do to address the policy discussion and get that implemented into the regulation.
Yeah, definitely. I hate to ask, do you have another copy? Sorry, I thought I printed it off of your edited one that you sent us, but I accidentally printed off two of the original, the 2023.
Here's an edited one.
And I can print anything, but I just don't know.
Right
My
here, if you want.
set up on 11 basis.
This is all. Now where she edited in one, this was the clear one.
Regulations.
Upgrade. So,
Really? You see that?
Also, before we move on further, let's set a close by date tonight. What time do we want to go home? I think it's nice if we said that, because then otherwise we'll be talking here.
And I
forever.
think maybe if you don't mind, in addition to that, I think that we need to also establish parameters on how long we stay on one topic.
Section,
Because I think last May, we got really bogged down in such a small section. We needed to have kind of.
keep
moved
moving
along.
forward. Yeah, I would agree with that.
watching something on, I think, say the other day, it was a
Don't do that.
council meeting,
Yeah.
and they had like a thing with a clock, like when
They
Heather
went
was
in
speaking
here.
or whatever, or even for a topic, we could
Yeah.
set the clock. All right, we got 2 minutes.
It's a little like.
There's the
say the
shot
same
collars.
thing, okay,
Yes.
I'm happy to do the timer.
Yeah, I think so. Let's say we need to be done by 9 tonight. Is everyone in agreement?
Mhm.
That, okay. And then yes, let's try to work through these questions as quickly as possible. Anybody have any ideas on time wise?
Well, like for the first section, do you want to do like the questions about definitions and clarity? There's 3 parts to that. You
Mhm.
want to,
I can
5 minutes?
I'll be the clock if it feels like it's dragging on.
Okay,
All right.
I like it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's keep moving. I like that.
or maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so let's get started.
okay. Okay, so are the distinctions between macro cell, small wireless, and exempt facilities clear enough for applicants?
So that's
So,
3.
And-
Small.
All of the definitions are on page 1 and 2. So at least small wireless facility, macro cell, and the exempt facilities are provided in section 3.
Okay.
Here's
can read it.
that.
Oh.
Right, in section 3, it goes in. I said. Okay, so then as we look at the definitions, does it provide distinctions between each of those 3 things? Macro cell, small wireless, and
oh, here, that one's yours.
Oh, good. Couldn't find it.
I think the macro cell definition, it states in here that it exceeds the volumetric dimensional limits applicable to small wireless facilities.
Okay.
So that's how they are distinguishing a macro cell from a small wireless facility.
Okay.
I was curious about the small wireless facilities. Does it need to meet every single one of these criteria to be considered small wireless? Or like a certain number out of the 5?
Way it reads, it.
It's
meets
all of
the
them.
criteria.
It has to be all of them, right?
It doesn't say or.
That's how I read it. Is that the intention now? That's how it should be read.
If that is the intention,
Yeah.
it would be helpful for all.
Yes.
And then exempt.
I think
Is
it
on
does.
page. Is on page 5. And
And that's pretty clear. Yeah, you're pretty clear about all.
And I think we got a couple comments about the
What she's
ham
already
radio.
said.
I was curious about your thoughts about the ham radio though, with it being up to 70 feet tall. Because now all of a sudden,
So I think that's an FCC.
that's something, okay, we can't really,
If I'm not mistaken.
That's
an
what I-
FCC issue.
okay,
I think Lance said that last
I
night.
think so
too.
too.
Yes.
She's pretty.
Okay.
So what do we think? Does it address all those? I think it does.
I know it does with the small wireless, but
Right, do we have any overlap from the small wireless to the exempt facilities?
What do you mean by that?
Is there any overlap where someone might say where they fall under the small wireless, where then they might say, actually, I'm exempt?
exempt is like your ham radio and, yeah.
Okay, are we good on that one?
I think so.
Okay,
Do you guys want to exempt anything else? Some of you can be exempt. Something you read.
Where's the exempt?
I don't know. That's, I need to.
On what page?
Page 5 of that packet that, I mean, I don't know.
under section 3,
Section
facility
3,
types.
facilities.
Are you in the agenda packet?
Yes,
Okay, let me tell you what.
Section 1,
page.
2,
Hold on a
3.
second.
I got it right here.
You found it?
Section 3.
Or 2.
See section 3? There it is.
I don't know what else you would.
So this is
include
the
besides that.
exempt.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm just gonna go back and look at my notes on my other one.
Did you? That felt like a leading question, Clayton. Was there something in there that?
No,
Yeah.
just ask.
Something concerning.
You're the policymakers in this situation. And I think this will make a big difference. What are you regulating? What are you not regulating?
Government.
So, for example, like you have, so just for number 2, for discussion's sake. Satellite earth stations, dishes and antennas. The old days, those satellite dishes,
Mhm.
now there aren't more. I think you're probably fine there. Do you want to regulate the number of dishes that?
No. I mean, I would like to, but no.
For discussion's sake, since you're talking about what you're exempting and everything else. Do you- So, discussion's sake, county facilities that you also want to exempt other government facilities. So if the town of Pinedale wants to put in something there, or if the 11 wants to put something up, or anything else like that, on another governmental entity.
But we can't do anything with bail. We can't do anything with federal land.
On their
Oh, for their buildings, yeah.
discussion sake, like, are you?
I think we have to be careful with that too, because even I think about town of Pinedale, they put up the tower for the AMR reading for like the water meters.
Mhm.
I'm like, that means they could put it anywhere. We exempt that.
That's a
Just
policy
something to
issue,
keep in
yes.
mind, like if they do an AMR tower, which I'm not saying that is it would not be limited to emergency services. It would just be any town facility, and I feel like I don't know if depends on what it is.
Well, then maybe they would have to go into the small wireless facility.
think
If it's
they
mounted on a building, then it defers to that. Or
I think we should just,
Looking into
I
that.
think we should leave it as it is for now, personally. Because then the town, if,
they
I'm
can
fine
come to
leaving it
us
as,
first.
Yeah.
as it
Changes.
is. I just wanna go through this to see what I have.
Don't wanna let them do whatever they.
I know this is what us do.
Uh,
I have to pay
correct.
$200. Sublette County has to pay $200. I know, a lot, like. 5. Did you notice the number on the 200? Much more than 75 that you guys charge. That's a complicated-
next question.
Tuck that one away.
I had to
Okay.
pay $500 for a CUP. Are you kidding me?
Okay. The next one, ship the code.
Okay, so everyone is good with number one. Yes, we're good with the distinctions.
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Should the code define right of way, public lands, or utility corridors to clarify jurisdiction?
Are they
Um,
terms that are used within regulation?
yeah, are those
They are.
definitions in?
There's a point in here, and I think Lance even made a comment about it, about public lands. Need to control F.
Sorry, what paragraph are you in right now?
We're on the second of the first, we're on the second question of the first definitions.
Definitions and clarity.
We're on page 2. I do that all the time.
Which one is that in the?
Like here, we do for the macro cells or other towers, we say public or private. And I think it's just, and I think Lance had a question about this.
But isn't this also on the application? I mean,
So would you want to take that out and just have any tract of land? Well, here it says, no person shall develop, construct, modify, or operate a macro cell tower or related equipment for this purpose upon any tract of land.
Yeah.
Within any right of way, of any building or structure within the jurisdiction of Sublette County. Prior to the approval of the application, issuance of the required permit.
Basically,
So do you think we need to, I don't think we need, you think we need to define that more than?
I just wonder if we just take that out, the public or private.
That's what I'm saying, like if you said on any tract of land, that goes without saying, right?
The right of way or other public property. So we talked about that in restoration, other public property.
But do you think, like, the question is, does the code need to define right of way, public lands, or utility quarters? To clarify jurisdiction, do you think we need to go into further? I don't think we
I
need
don't
to.
think we need to right now. I don't
Don't
think we
think we-
need to at this point.
No,
What do you think? I think that's
I-
getting like word mealing,
yes,
piecemealing with words.
yeah, I agree.
It can create confusion.
I agree.
Let's-
I'm thoroughly confused.
Let's move on to. the
Chase
next
isn't
one.
helping me.
Okay. Should examples of stealth design be considered mandatory templates or flexible illustrations?
So we ask for self-design.
Where is that at?
That's,
It's on page 1. Self-design. Design that minimizes.
yeah, where was that, Tammy?
Isn't it it's page 1, self-design, a design that minimizes, is that what you want?
So we have a definition, of stealth design, and then later,
Then does that go into like the general requirements where it goes into the,
we then ask for it again with conditional use submittal information and design standards. Proposed use of stealth design where applicable or necessary. So
Well-
we're very vague on like what we are asking for with stealth design.
except for in part D of the general requirements and from section 2. Number 8, it said stealth design shall be used to the maximum extent feasible. Unless otherwise approved by the county, stealth design and concealment techniques must be appropriate given the proposed location, design, visual environment, and nearby use of structures and natural features. Stealth design shall be designed and constructed to substantially conform to surrounding building designs or natural design. I think that's pretty clear.
I think we received comments from Union about this and from LR about the stealth design.
Is it
that it's
subjective?
Subjective. It's more of a
Right.
subjective concept. Versus if we have,
I don't personally like it. Potentially in a certain, like in a residential zoning type or something. Having it, I think encouraging it is fine, but I do agree that it is a bit ambiguous, like. I mean, the language is clear, but it's not clear on what the requirement is. It's not like some HOAs say that you can't paint certain colors or something, like it's not something like that that you can and can't do. So they could say it's painted this color of gray and that's a stealth color or something, which I think would be fine. I don't think they all need to look like pine trees.
Right.
Kind of don't like those actually.
So on that, when it said should examples of stealth design be considered, so probably not mandatory templates. We're not gonna have a mandatory
I would not.
template. I agree.
I completely
Or
agree.
flexible, just more of a flexible illustration or idea or something. It's,
If there was a way to like encourage or incentivize it or something, sure,
agree.
but as a requirement, I would say no.
there's also something depending on how far away or like the distance from more larger residential areas.
To me, it depends where it goes.
It depends on where it is, where
Yeah.
it's like if you're close to the town of Big Piney, or if you're out in the middle of nowhere where no one's driving, or it's
not a
more
viewpoint.
ag zoning
Yeah.
and not as many people are, I think it's the location can play into that a lot, and the height, because if you have a very large tower, it's gonna look silly.
Yeah.
A gigantic 120-foot tree.
That might look silly.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
put some lights on it.
One thing I Your conversation with your conversation.
People get weird too.
But I mean, that totally makes sense because weight is a huge factor with these towers. And so if we're asking them to add decoration to it,
It could reduce possible future co-location by having that on there, because now we have the added weight by the stealth design.
right?
so I have a question. When you say stealth design, wouldn't that just kind of include like maybe painting it to blend in? It has to be an actual
You might
Design.
make them invisible. I just.
Well, and I think that,
Exactly.
I think that that's exactly what Union is trying to say, is that it's such a subjective concept. Like, my idea of a stealth design could be totally different than like yours is. And I think that that's what they're trying to say is like, cause you get somebody in here that's, you know, hammering the nail and they're like, no, like you have to do something elaborate. Then you have somebody else that's like, well, no, stealth can be just minimal, like trying to make it blend in as much as possible.
Right.
That's
Maybe that's what we need to say, like, so we've all decided we don't want no mandatory templates for stealth design. That answers it.
Correct.
Right. And in terms of stealth design, what we mean is try to practically blend into your environment as much as possible. Doesn't necessarily have to be a
Yeah,
tree.
It's still, that's still
Have
subjective. to
language
me.
about something, I mean, I would rather not, but I think most people that are building these towers use non-reflective paints and things like that, like
Right.
flat colors that kind of absorb the light, so, you know, it's not,
The simple things like.
yeah.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't think making them all look like trees is necessary.
So you do have that safety valve in the way that this reads, says that to the extent feasible. You do have the opportunity to have that conversation. I'm not sure if self-design is a term
Sure.
utilized in the industry. That might be just like a term of art. It's like, we know, everyone knows self-design means, right? If you're in the business of building.
We have used the wording, Clayton. Do you think this would be better concealment techniques?
Well, it says, so you have both.
Stealth and concealment
Yeah.
techniques. So that concealment techniques, like you were saying with the paints or whatever might.
Yeah, and like the
Instead of
fencing
stealth.
around the ground equipment and stuff like that.
right.
It is somewhat vague in what you, like, it. I get what this is trying to say. But there is some vagueness in it, about maximum extent feasible. What does that actually mean? But at the same time, you are putting burden on an applicant to say, well, this is what I'm trying to do in this area, this is how I'm concealing it, this is what I'm doing. I didn't make it look like a tree because wind shear and all these other things. but I
It's because
did
it's 150
add
feet tall.
something to cover a solar panel.
Mhm.
Or not make it reflect with the sun's reflection or something. You know, like the metal.
I think too, I've noticed just since we've started these discussions, just the differences in how towers look. And the towers, some of them just, they don't have as much on the top. But the ones that have the panels top,
Mhm.
those almost do. Those ones that stand out a lot more. The ones that have like the giant panels that are on the top. And I'm like, what can you do for those situations to like make that blend in more? And the Verizon tower up at Mountain Man Museum, those do have the panels on it and it's disguised as the tree. And there's the one right behind it, that's the Union one that also has the panels. It has, I think, a lot more panels on it, but it is not disguised. But I do think something with those panels, those seem to just stand out a lot more to me.
Yeah, and I couldn't speak to, I imagine there is probably the application or the use of what the tower is doing. Depends on what equipment's on the top. But yeah. I couldn't speak to that. I don't know about. I'm always hesitant to restrict an industry that knows more than I do.
I 100% agree. So to answer the question, should examples of stealth design be considered mandatory templates or flexible illustrations? So we're all on the same page that it shouldn't be mandatory templates.
Right, no mandatory template.
Yes.
So it sounds like, stealth, concealed, camouflaged are all terms of art.
Yeah.
So if you start using those languages.
Yeah. Okay. We're done with
We
number
did
one.
good.
Yes. All right.
That's just funny.
So
Agenda.
I'm sorry, I should have printed these questions and I didn't.
You're perfectly fine.
It's on page 2 of the agenda packet.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so location and zoning policy. Should towers be allowed in all zoning districts? Small wireless versus macro?
Zoning districts out.
So
Don't
so
we
I
allow
guess to answer this question, are we,
small?
do we want to go through like small wireless? Are they accepted in all and macro accepted in all? So it's separately. So if we start with small wireless, is there any zones that you guys think that small wireless should not be allowed in?
And in the back of the agenda packet includes all the zone districts.
So is this, I guess, the language, I'm wondering, is it that it's an accepted use in all and conditional use in some or restricted in
Oh,
some?
that's a good question.
Because I
Right.
think it should be an accepted use in both industrials and the
CUP.
commercial. And
You're right, because in our general provisions, right now it says wireless telecommunication facilities or towers are only allowed by conditional use permits within permitted zone districts. So it's saying that you have to get a conditional use permit.
And I
for, like,
agree.
All of
I
them.
think you should.
See, I disagree. I agree with Chase. I think that there should be I like light industrial and heavy industrial. I think that you shouldn't have to get I don't feel like you should have to get a CUP.
For any of them?
For a tower?
Yeah. As long as it meets height requirement.
yeah, if anything, you'd have a
Okay.
variance.
Yeah.
But everything's gonna be over 50
Okay.
feet.
I guess I'm not as familiar. with
Yes, you
this
can
changes. I was thinking like anytime you put a tower up, you put it somewhere, you still gotta talk with, I mean, don't you think you should see with the neighbors or whatever, just to kind of go through, or are you saying that just in some of these zones, you could just put them in any?
Yeah, so I think like just light industrial and just heavy industrial. You should be able to
Put them there regardless.
put them in regardless.
But you still have to meet the height requirement. It's like
Correct.
Anything over 50, which
It's-
anything over 30.
right.
You need a. permit.
And are they 50 or 60 in industrial? I was thinking they were 60.
Just depends on what it is.
Or
Oh,
10%.
It's 50, yeah,
Right.
it's
Right.
50 unless it's.
And then I feel like, I mean, truthfully, I feel like I feel like both of them should be acceptable in any of the zones with the CUP. So no CUP for light industrial and heavy industrial, but a CUP for the others.
Maybe that,
I guess that's my question. What zone? Like how it hits set up that it has to go through all these zones, it has to do a CUP in every zone, correct? What zone would you not?
Right, what zone wouldn't we want to see anything in? Because one thing to keep in mind, just looking at the zoning map, how much ag zoning there is. And sometimes it may make more sense for it to be further away from more development if people don't want it to be considered I don't want to use the word eyesore, but like if they don't want to look at it every day, does it make more sense for it to be in ag zoning away from more of the high density areas?
Sure.
Just the,
I mean, we had this discussion when we went over the heavy industrial zoning as sort of a catch-all. And I still think that that's a good idea. I also believe that when we blanket zoned the county ag, it was for flexible use, and I would be open to it. I just don't know that everybody supports that as far as conditional uses in ag. Seems like people like to have it go through a process, depending on the bag it's on.
Asking,
Yes.
so. Thinking about exempting an area. Back to Haley's not wanting to use the eyesore. Want to. Hands. Right, tower, therefore your. Ridges, peaks, you want them out in the flats, and therefore they are tall. But if they're on ridges and peaks, everyone sees them, I guess. Then you can think about, well, what is your zoning or what? In terms of, so heavy industrial, most of your heavy industrial, zoning, look at the existing. They're in the flats. So if you're exempting and you're saying, hey, you build power and heavy industrial where we're at, well, that's gonna be a really tall tower. Flats. Whereas it's a tower on a hillside, might be an ag or residential, but is going to see. Where do you want towers to be?
I think another, going to that, we talked about the alternative analysis and suggesting to look at multiple locations when you are putting a tower in, where maybe it's not just based off of one location. That could possibly be covered with that alternative analysis of we want to be providing coverage for this area. But in order to do that, we're not just going to go to this person and ask them to use their property. We're going to do an alternative analysis and find the best place. Just,
So the question though is, should towers be allowed in all zoning districts? And you're not talking about permitting, you're saying allowing them to apply for a CUP. So that's I feel like we just went off.
So just, should towers be allowed? Just that simple question.
Just
Right.
should they be allowed?
Yeah.
Is there,
Zoning districts do we think?
yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
That get us
That's the
on
question,
point.
right?
Right.
And I think.
Because our
they should.
timer,
Doing my job.
yeah, I am doing your job.
And I'm the
like
one that got it.
residential. What about residential?
Well, there's a place. for
I
that,
think there
though,
should.
Even in residential,
Mhm.
you know, there's a place for that. You know.
I think
same
it
as
depends
that.
on which you're looking at too. Sorry, I didn't mean to
But
interrupt.
then they would go through, I'm sorry, Tammy, go ahead. I was following.
Interrupted you, go ahead.
Because then, you know, and even in residential, then they have to follow a planning and zoning, you know.
They have to
They
apply
have
for a
to
CUP. They
apply
have
for
to,
all
yes,
that, Make sure.
I completely agree.
it's a appropriate process.
Because that's the thing is that at that point, because there are some residential areas that I think would be just fine. There's some residentials that wouldn't be, but that's where we as the planning and zoning and the county commissioners have the ability to deny a CUP.
Mr. Timer.
So I think that they should be allowed in all zones.
Both types.
Yes,
Small wireless and macro.
yes.
You can go back and read that definition of macro again.
Macro is anything that's not small wireless.
Sure.
Like antenna
Or
on
exempt.
stuff, right?
So you might want to go back.
You're hysterical. Yeah.
Do think, keep in mind with the residential, it is by acreage. So if more of those highly dense, the high density areas with just rural residential where those lots are smaller, does it really make sense to have it in area?
Well, right now we allow it in everything.
That's
Right.
the question I have, I guess, is, so let's say you have I mean, I can think of a few examples of subdivisions that have, where have we been putting these? The public facility
Mhm.
of a lot,
Mhm.
like, it could be a church in the future or something, like, could that lot also be utilized for something like a tower? Not that I want to keep it in public facility, but
Right.
like, I think that you could have an example of a denser residential area where there is a lot that is, like, I don't think it should go in somebody's backyard necessarily, but could the company buy a lot and maybe even do a rezone or something where it's commercial and that's where the tower goes. And I think that there is a use because you have higher traffic in dense areas and you might need a tower to, service that community. The question I had or the issue I had with one of the previous applications was doing it on a residential lot in a residential neighborhood. Like somebody could just go put it in their backyard and, well, I might think that's okay. I don't know that everybody thinks that that's okay. So that's more the question I have is should there be some way for a company to service a residential neighborhood? I guess there's a period there, but I didn't have anything else to add. Should there be some way for them to do it? And I think, yes, there should be.
Mm-hmm.
So you're allowing small, anything in any zone, but they have to go through a CUP process. That's what you're
Yes.
saying,
Mm-hmm.
Right,
right?
Yes.
I'm okay with that. That's what we have now.
yeah.
Right. Because like I said, it does, with them having to go through the CUP process for any zone that we don't list it as a by right.
Right. We don't exclude it.
Right. So any zone that we don't list it as a by right, they're gonna have to come through the process. So I don't think that I think it should be allowed, and then we can make the final determination when they apply for a CUP. And then we can say like, no, it does not fit this particular area, or yes, it does. So it gives us the ability to judge on a case by case basis. Yes, thank you.
Next, or
Yes.
Next question.
Oh, for
Oh, yeah.
yes. Oh, you're good.
From personal experience.
Oh, can we have you come up here? Sorry, Steve. We have to make sure we can listen back.
No,
to
no,
the
I
recording.
understand and I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me comment kind of in the middle of the discussions here. From personal experience, the CUP process is quite burdensome. It takes a lot of time. It's a two-step process. It's going to the P&Z and then going to the Board of County Commissioners. Okay. And then there's all the notice and everything like that. And so my thinking on this is I like the idea of having some zones where it's clearly permitted by right that doesn't have to go through the two-step process, as well as having areas where it's completely prohibited, like residential areas. Because just about a month ago, we had the folks from Big Piney that were very, very concerned about the proposed cell tower in the residential area. So I think if you have, even though it's a CUP process in a residential area, you're going to naturally just get a lot of opposition, I think, just because of the fear of cell phone towers. And so my recommendation would be have a tranche that's by right permitted, have a tranche by right prohibited, and then have that middle ground where you go through the CUP process. So that's my recommendation. And then back to the stealth design.
Mhm.
In my comments, I referenced 2 industries that have standards on stealth design. So you might want to take a look at those industries and see if there's some industry norms or definitions that you can work to it and refer to, so it's not such a subjective process that it might be. So, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
I think in terms, if I might address that, when you were talking about the Big Piney, those people didn't have a problem with the tower in the resident. They had a problem with where that tower, I mean, there are towers in the residential areas all through Big Piney and Marvelton. It was that particular location. And so that's where I say, I think that, and I know like the subdivisions out of town, there are some cell towers in those, like a Union Tower, and that has serviced that whole area well. So I wouldn't want to rule out that they're prohibited in residential areas, because I think there is a time and if it's, done.
well, and that one was
Through the
in
process.
ag that everybody was
And it
Yeah.
was the, the height and,
Mhm.
and it was right in a swampy area.
To me, it all goes back to. I mean, we're supposed to be putting towers up so that people have access. And if we do say we're not gonna have it in certain places, we might be, can't do that. As a federal law, but, so we really can't prohibit. So.
Sorry, I was using the restroom.
I know, that's why I said that.
We can't prohibit in certain areas. We cannot blanket prohibit throughout the entire.
Okay, so we can prohibit certain areas, but.
So you could describe an area that is just doing no per tower.
And I think we have that. There is a described area in here.
Really?
Yes, I think in. Goodness, and I remember Union and they commented about a map. It under general requirements.
Yeah,
Wow,
please
is it
do.
here? Under general requirements. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, guys.
The Highway 191.
The Highway 191.
All support.
It's- Yeah. Shall be cited and designed to minimize adverse visual impacts on surrounding properties and the public to the greatest extent reasonably possible. But there is an area that's defined.
That still has, it's just,
It's-
it's a restriction, but it's not a,
It's not prohibitive, right?
and what that's clearly doing is trying to preserve visual lands.
But if we were
Okay.
to look through all of the zoning districts, I mean, maybe scenic areas, historic sites, trails, I mean, that would be the only one I could even think that. And even then, that there might be a place for that, you have a museum or something,
Right. That's where
I
I,
just don't know of one that I wouldn't, if they go through the process of planning and zoning where I would
Whether-
want to prohibit it.
I agree.
Any ridge lines that you don't want to. So for example, you've got towers up on Mount Airy.
Some areas we can't control though, because it's BLM and
Thinking about a space. Might want to say no towers. Is there a place in the county?
But do we have to define that right now, or would that normally get defined through the planning and zoning process as they apply for that, and maybe we would say the planning and zoning and the commissioners would say, we don't want that there.
So think about it this way, and just think of that process of planning and zoning. So the actual zoning, like a zoning district boundary change, that question of zoning is a legislative decision that the commissioners can just make for the sake of it. Not something that's necessarily reviewable by. Whereas conditional use permit process is more of an adjudicatory, it is an adjudicatory. Where both this board and the commissioners are sitting there and acting like a judge. They're reviewing facts and information, applying a criteria to it and saying it either fits or it doesn't. Is it a square peg in a round hole? Is it a round peg? So if you have criteria that says you can put a tower up so long as it is not super this tall, that it has this camouflage or whatever you want to do, and you've said if you check all these boxes, you can have a tower. Then the commissioners can't really say no if it meets all these boxes, even if it's in a place where they're like, well, but from the perspective of making in the regulation, that legislative type decision of this area is just off limits. That's not, that is allowable to say it's off limits. But we don't. And there's not a situation where they're being forced later by the court to say, no, you actually have to go. So if you're gonna decide, if you wanna say no towers on whatever ridge line or no towers in a certain spot, it's gotta be done through your regulatory process. Not on you. In this, you're sitting in a legislative process right now. site.
Right, and I understand that. And you've explained it even more clearly. I just don't know, for me personally, if I want to legislate that or decide that right now. I don't want, I mean, I don't know, how do you guys? Yeah.
I think that we should have a alternative analysis and that should be taken into account with the alternative analysis. As far as like what options are being evaluated. And the alternative analysis could also dictate you need to first evaluate co-location. Are there co-location opportunities? Are there we could list out what needs to be evaluated in that alternative analysis and have the scenic view sheds be part of it. Are there ways to avoid scenic view shed areas within the alternative analysis?
I also feel like we have to know so much more information.
But they
Well-
would be providing the alternative analysis with their application.
So they should provide us, with all of the information that we would need.
Well, that's be
That's
written into
what
our code.
I think it would have to be written into it as far as what's required. And we would have to be clear with that because if it's too loose or then, it is a lot of
But that's where I
questions
go
will come
back to
up.
the point where I don't know enough.
Or for example, if a macro tower is being proposed, the alternative analysis could be, could you have two small wireless facilities spread out instead of one macro tower? That could just be one of the questions with the analysis. Is there another alternative to do a small macro tower and use existing structures where it's like in town, there's a lot of small facilities that are on top of rooftops. Like, are those options to
Mhm.
do like two of those versus to do one big tower, which maybe some of these situations there are not.
But that would,
It's something,
yes,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
but we're not necessarily addressing the zone district, but the alternative analysis could
Right.
address more of what are the other options.
I like where you're going with it.
Just
I just don't know how we do it.
Well, I mean, you could complicate that or you could simplify it by saying that how you would do it is that with an alternative analysis needs to be done.
You just, as
Require
That's
them?
required with your,
and you can just give Haley that as like, okay, can you options and
and then I could look into what could be included in the alternative analysis.
Right.
And I agree. I'm not trying to say you need to analyze the entire county, but look at this area and what are the
Do you have
options
any other
within
options?
this
Right.
area? And we could, if you are on board with an alternative analysis, then in the time being, I could look into more what would that criteria be.
Yes, I like that.
and so then going back to the questions, should towers be allowed in all zoning districts? Yes. With
Yes,
with possible or with alternative analysis,
Well, we can go
or
back to,
with some alternative analysis criteria or whatever.
yes.
So just to be clear, this is something that would be required in the application? Or is this something that we're going to drag people out to a meeting and then suggest here at the meeting and make them wait
No, so they would
another
come
month?
they would come to the table with.
With
I-
it.
I want to build a town. Sorry, you speak. Sure. Okay, we should have talked about this. So for discussion's sake, and company A, I want to build a tower because I want to broadcast to following areas within the county. Saying this tower is supposed to serve this area. I come to the table and I say, I have 3 different plans to accomplish serving this geographic area with such and such service. Internet, I want to do. I come up and say, well, I can build a big ass tower right here. Build like in the flats right here. Here we go. I can build one small tower here. I can build an exempt tower right here. I'm sorry, not exempt. I can build 3 small wireless facilities. One here on this ridge line that is somewhat attractive, and these over here, and I can get the whole same thing. And then my third alternative is, well, I could co-locate over here. I've talked to this person, it's gonna, it's whatever here, and then I can do this over here. So you have sort of from the table with like a menu of options.
Mm.
And then the board looks at each one of those options, essentially picks one of them based on what the.
Would they have
Or-
their preferable option though? Because I mean,
can argue
really,
and say
they
you're
probably
doing
have a,
That's what I was gonna say. Right.
This one here is costly to us, and here's why we're suggesting this one, but here's the other
Here's
option.
the other options. Yeah.
And they provide that information to you. Decision gets made.
Perhaps too, if it is a small wireless facility versus a macro tower that's coming to the table, the alternative analysis could have different requirements.
And so you're saying we would require this?
We may require less if someone's coming to the table saying that they just want a 50-foot tower, because
Because if
really
I
the
were a
alternative.
company and I would just come in and say, this is the cheapest way I'm gonna get this information out.
If we require it,
Right.
Yeah, and that's
I'm
what-
asking, would we?
yes.
Yes,
Please
as
require-
part of the application for a CUP.
And that's what, so if you're gonna say co-location is one of those analysis. One reason.
Lance, you saw that? Lance says his hand, right? Okay.
Go ahead, Lance.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Thanks.
All right. So one of the things I just wanted to comment about this is when we're designing and trying to decide what towers or where it makes the sense to build a tower, the typical process for providers is that we have to go to the landowners or the BLM or whoever we want to build with, and we got to get permission there. And then only after do we have permission, do we start trying to find the permitting to actually build it. And so something I just want you guys to be aware of is how does that process look for a provider that needs to build a tower but has to come up with all these alternative plans? Are they supposed to go to the county first and talk about, well, this is what we want to cover and we might be able to do this, this, or this, but we have to get the county's blessing before we can even approach the landowners or whomever we need to deal with for those approvals to build there. And then, if that person says no, it really complicates the process. And so I think that's something that needs to be kept in mind here.
Yeah, and that's,
could there just be a question on the CUP asking, have you done alternative analysis to the applicant?
Like, how did you come up with this current
Yeah,
landowner?
like, so they have their
Just
deal.
like, make sure you're not being lazy when you're trying to find the right landowner, and that it's not just like, oh, this is the best place because I know the person who owns this property. Like, we want to make sure that that is the best place for it and that we're going to get the best coverage and that like.
But how do we know
It's-
that? That's what I'm saying. How do we know
but
that?
I think that, I mean, just business wise, they're gonna go through all those steps anyhow, really, because they're gonna find what's the best coverage, because if they get shitty coverage, they're not gonna have happy customers. So, I mean, I think that,
I think that's true to a degree, but like we all, if you own a business, you make concessions here and there based on like, is my office in the prime location where I want it to be, or is it because that building was available? And if there's a landowner that's willing to work with a company, I guess that's part of my concern is like, I don't want to be overly restrictive if a company has a private landowner that's willing to work with them and we say, well, we'd rather have it over here, but that person isn't willing or they want more money or something. I don't know that we can force their hand just because that's where we want to see it. I
right,
think,
And like you say, I also don't want to create a whole bunch of extra work.
but
for
should
you.
we?
right, because it's a lot of work anyhow.
But an alternative analysis would have a place if we could somehow make it where it's, you have to think outside of just what you're, even the question, yes or no, maybe they haven't done any sort of alternative analysis. And maybe they have and said, well, I asked such and such to co-locate, but I can't, like Lance said, for whatever reason, and then,
Right, maybe the
But decide.
alternative analysis for small wireless facilities is not extremely extensive for a small wireless facility, but for a macro facility, that's where the alternative analysis could ask, what is the alternative of using small wireless facility? Or I think we are trying to make it more of a step ladder of if you're going to put a 150-foot, 200-foot tower, that's when the requirement could be a little asking for a little bit more analysis.
Sure.
Versus a 50-foot tower, it might be, did you reach out to anyone else about co-location? What other properties did you look into?
Or were there any properties you looked at?
Well, we've already heard 50-foot towers, very difficult to
Co-locate.
co-locate from.
Lance, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I pretty much commented what I needed to. I did want to kind of reference for you guys. This might be useful. One of the things that LR Communications looked at a couple of years ago was building a macro tower on what's referred to as Stewart Point up in the area there to get away from the crowding on Mount Airy. And that's something that we were going to develop until BLM and a few other things come back, and it was going to be $600,000 to build this site after their studies and their paleontology and such. And obviously that was a deterrent for us doing that. There just wasn't the ROI there to be able to do that, but that'd be a great site to develop. But if we have to do that, we're not going to offer services in those kind of areas. And so that's something I think you guys got to keep in mind too, is how much of this is going to drive the cost that ultimately gets pushed onto the residents of Sublette County.
Great. That's a great point. Thanks, Lance. Okay, so I think we should keep moving forward. Let's keep this, I know, timer.
I don't even know, are we still talking about should towers be allowed in?
No, so we all said yes to should towers be allowed in all zoning districts. So should private residential or agricultural users be treated differently than commercial carriers?
So
No, now I'm looking at this and I'm like, it'd be,
What is,
okay, so I think this comes from the conversation that you and I had. So where you have a situation where a person is building a tower in order to receive versus a person who's building it, projecting out a signal. So
if it's more for, the private residential.
So for discussion's sake, a few years ago, we had a variance that came in. The guy was asking for a variance, right, so he could reach his receiver 10 foot higher because of the topography of his landscape. Because the line of sight wireless provider that he wanted to get hold of couldn't touch his house because he couldn't. So he wanted to build something higher out there and be able to grow. So this happens in Barger all the time. And downs and that's what's hard about putting a tower in Barger, is being able to get all those people. So should we, when thinking about towers, does the person that's farther out in the boonies or whatever, wherever they're at, if they are trying to put something up for the purposes of being able to receive service, do you want to treat them differently? Does that want to be something that's exempt? What do you want to do with that versus the commercial person who is sending a signal? And they're utilizing that tower for the purposes of essentially a commercial operator.
An example be for making it different for the resident.
You could exempt it.
I think in a way it almost is exempted. Now that I'm going back and looking at this for the exempt facilities, it almost falls in number 3. But the only thing is it's saying that it has to be attached to an existing structure. And it's used solely for the occupants of the building.
Yeah,
Like, does it have to be attached to an existing structure?
Well, I think,
They're just,
yeah, if you want to exempt something, I think that we can define what's exempt, and if somebody wants a tower that's not attached to their house or shop or whatever, then we can require a CUP. Like, I think that you can do both.
And I would agree with that, to require. So is that what you're saying, is that you would like to require if they
Like,
wanted
it
to
would
build
make
a
sense if
completely
you're,
separate
most of the
building?
time, if you're
Tower.
extending from the house, it's a pole
Right,
that goes up. It's, like visually shouldn't be an issue.
right,
But if you're gonna put a tower up in the backyard, like maybe the neighbors or the HOA or whatever it may be has issues with that.
right.
So that might be something that we.
Then you
can
go
look at.
through the process.
Okay, so if you want to build a tower, if you want a tower on the side of the range, so that all your radios can same spot. That ridge doesn't have any buildings.
Well, that's an ag. You can do whatever you want.
Is it?
I'm just.
No, I'm trying to think, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I was saying like, and here again, like we could say in residential, this is an exempt or acceptable thing to do for the sole purposes of the resident, and maybe different zoning types. There are different exemptions, right?
I think in ag, yeah, I think you could exempt a tower that's not necessarily attached to a building. I think it's more realistic that that's.
Mhm.
There's gonna be residents.
Right,
And I would say the same thing for the industrial zoning types as well. I think it would be rare that they couldn't get a signal, but if it serves the property owner or the
Mhm.
business or whatever.
right.
But, so Chase, can you explain, so what do you mean? Like, you mean that, like, where this is exempt already, any sort of antenna or anything built up, that's okay. But if you want to do a tower, you go through the process on any
No, just, I was saying in residential,
in
or at
residential.
least that's where my
And in
mind was.
agriculture, you can lock one up.
Sure.
230 feet? No, it's 50.
Yeah.
60.
Accessory structure.
65.
Is it? What is it? Is it 50 or
It's
60?
60, yeah.
You can do that without a CUP?
That's the maximum height limit. And
Yeah,
So what's the answer to that question?
I almost think part of it is someone's gonna be like, well, I'm gonna try to do my best to attach it to my house first. Be exempt.
What it is?
It depends on what it is, but then all of a sudden, if they can't be exempt, then yes, what is the process for? They can't be exempt anymore.
so then I think if they can't be exempt, if it's not attached to an existing property, then I think that if it's in a residential area, then they need to go through the process of a CUP. If they're,
Yeah,
even for a private, if they can't attach it to an existing structure and they're gonna build a whole tower.
Dude, what's your deal with towers, Tammy?
And but you don't think that,
I know.
Right,
Just
but not ag? And I'm ag. Don't know how to,
no, because I do, I mean, because I do think, kind of like what Clayton was saying. Like, if it's for your own private use, like you think ag, I mean, my first thought goes to is like some of these big lots, big ranches, that if they need some kind of if they need to put up some kind of a tower to increase communication over the
like
ranch,
radio service or something.
radio service or something like that, because like I said, I mean, there's some of these places that are,
So maybe the answer to that, should private residential users be, or so ag is separate? You're saying no, private residential shouldn't be treated differently than commercial, but perhaps ag users should.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think.
So no for residential.
Yeah, I think they should all be treated the same, because we do have ag users going, putting up towers. Why should they have to go through?
But they would be putting up commercial towers, right?
No, I know a
Like-
lot of branches that just put up for their own use, so they have wireless. For their own personal use, no one else can use it.
I don't know of anybody that does that.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is that way we know it's there. And what happens if we could co-locate as expansion happens?
Well, then it turns into commercial. Like if it's,
So then you want a CUP on a tower that exists right now? Then we can run into the same process. problem.
I just.
But I mean, I know what you mean, Tammy, but that's a little tricky for me too. Anytime you put a tower up, regardless of where, it seems like to go through a process.
I just don't
Um,
see how it hurts.
But if you're, I don't know.
because the rancher wants to get some internet and it's gonna take him 3 months to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, no, there's ways around it. Now, 3 years ago, that was a true statement. Today, that's not the case.
All right.
It isn't.
So, yeah,
Lance has his hand.
okay.
Oh, it doesn't.
Lance, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wonder if I could jump in here. So maybe something for you folks to think about is exempting, or maybe not exempting, but changing small cell or small facilities to not require the conditional use and more of just an administrative permit. You know, there's some federal preemptive stuff that really pushes that small cells should be at a permit approval process that doesn't have to go through the variance or the conditional use permit, because that tends to be too long for the shot clocks they've established for those. And so maybe it's something to think about, that if a rancher, residents, or anyone wants to build what would be considered a small facility, something 50 feet or less, that it's just a permit and not a full-blown conditional use permit in the whole process for them. Maybe that serves the best of both worlds.
I think that's a good point. And then
Mhm.
Tammy can know about it and it's permitted.
I mean, yeah,
Or if it's within the height requirement of that zone district, possibly. It falls within the small cell, but then it's also within.
also within that's under this 60 feet.
But then the other thing is, if there might be that the 10%,
Mhm.
yes, where maybe it does need to exceed the height of the structure in order to be able to get over it. I don't know how that all works, but maybe if there is something related to the overall height of what's allowed in that zone district.
Can we go through the other questions and maybe?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Because we might just answer.
yes.
okay,
Gonna do a halftime or should I just go?
you should just go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But
Just
it's-
go, man, just go. Okay, are there priority corridors or underserved areas where new towers should be encouraged? I mean, I feel like the commercial carriers are gonna address that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like we should have any part in telling them where they need to put stuff up. Like, they're already on it. They're way above our pay grade.
Yeah.
So
It's a good question.
it is a great question. Yes, it is a great question.
They need it, which I think they're
Right.
gonna get it.
But I don't know if you need to encourage or
No,
incentivize
I
it.
don't
Like,
think
it's
you
gonna
need-
come anyways.
They've got it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd say,
Does the 10-mile scenic corridor near forest boundaries offer the right level of visual protection?
That was the one.
During forest fire season, yes. See anything? 10 feet would be great.
That one that we were talking about, the Highway
191.
191. And I do think this would be nice to see this in a map.
I do too.
So I could, if I have time, I could try to get this in a map.
but
More if I-
10 miles is pretty good, you know, that the 10-mile scenic
I do that
corridor
for
near
you.
forest
Do you want to
boundaries.
I will do that for you.
Okay.
I'll do it right now.
I wonder if we should also consider looking at a map. 10 miles is quite a bit
That's
too.
what I'm saying.
10 miles is a lot.
That's
If
a
we
lot.
should look at this, not just 10 miles, maybe like if we made it 5 miles and 10
Why don't
miles.
we do
like
both? Why don't we just take a look at what that looks like
Yeah,
on the way out?
I mean, even a mile, but really those scenic views, you can see very far.
Parks. You know,
No,
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a 10-mile diagonal line. It's the middle of the mesa.
That's way too much.
I think
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-mm.
Should make it.
If you made it 25, there would be like nowhere. you could go.
Understand. I'm teasing. Right.
And I'm saying, so that did pick a point or here. So like here, 10 miles is different, but the same thing. It
Right. No, I think that
candidly,
that's,
Mount Airy is not even in
mhm,
your 10 miles to Mount Airy.
right.
We were looking at the Forest Service one.
If it's to 191, you're going past 190. Right,
Right.
right?
So if you get farther north, at 10 miles, it comes being there.
Oh, good, thank you.
So if we did this and then did the 10-mile radius,
Oh, I thought that was Clayton.
this is me.
Thank you.
We could do a buffer.
Oh, I didn't even know that existed on
So
here.
this would be like the 1 mile. Even gonna do it. So that's the blue line. Okay,
should
let's
go-
do a new one. Yeah, the buffer, we
You
use
do
this
it.
a lot
Okay.
to figure out where we have to send notices to, public notices. So,
I don't want
um,
to tell you.
What if
how I
I-
do
why don't we do the 50 to 80 and that would just add another 0? Okay, this would be our 10 miles. From
Yeah.
up there.
Amy loves it.
But we could easily, I feel like just
I like
having
visual.
this,
I
the
like
visual is,
Scenic.
You're saying no towers within.
Yes, I want nothing in it.
Just wanted to discuss it.
Well, you were going to, you did too.
there's not going to be anywhere to put them.
No, well, that's.
Yeah, no.
We have them all over the place within that 10-mile.
That's crazy.
But that would be 50 to 80 plus an extra 0 for 10 miles. Right?
Yeah.
That's, I can tell you a handful of towers that are in. Forest.
Well, but so
Forest
this is,
Service doesn't count. They
Right.
can do whatever as long as they file. They will.
We could put all the towers in and not in that corridor.
Right, they'll just, if we don't want it in that corridor, it's just gonna go right on the boundary lines in the Forest Service. I mean,
Ah.
that's something to think about.
Where did the 10-mile corridor?
it was just in the proposed,
The
they came
previous.
up with it in the 2023 version. They came up with it just in the proposal. So none of this is actually,
But the thing is, with
Regulation.
hearings, I don't remember.
well, we didn't get that far.
Okay, well,
We
good.
did
That's-
it.
Yeah.
that makes me feel better.
Yeah, no, we haven't gotten that far yet.
When I first read it.
Yeah.
So,
So no, I don't think I think it needs to be like scratch the whole thing. I can be honest with you. I don't know.
I like a buffer.
I think the fear is that even if we have a buffer, people then might go to the Forest Service. But I don't know how,
Or BLM.
yeah,
Mhm. And at least they'll have to apply to us in most
so I
instances.
don't know cost wise, how Lance was even saying the one on Stewart Point was
Stewart
gonna be
Point.
600,000, where it's like, I don't know if it's the same in Forest Service or not.
Typically, you don't have utilities nearby. And wouldn't you rather keep
Yes.
your public lands pristine rather than the developed areas?
Yes,
But what I was thinking of is if we had protected areas, I'd be okay removing. I'd have to think about what protected areas look.
well, because that's my thing too, is I guess I don't really understand why this whole, like, what was it about this section? Because I can honestly tell you, like, you drive up 354, like, the Wyoming Range is absolutely beautiful as well. You go into,
Oh, you mean with 191?
right, with it just saying with 191 specifically, like, I understand that you have the winds, but I mean, I feel like all of Sublette County,
I agree.
there's all kinds of places that are beautiful.
You can still
So,
view that area from your home.
yes. So like, I don't even like that. I don't like that whole
Honestly, it doesn't even
G.
get around it.
Well, because so that it would come through planning and zoning.
Got
We
rid
would
of
do
it,
it
you would
anyway.
encourage-
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
because it would come
I
through
gotcha.
as a,
Yeah.
Cause yeah, a buffer and your point is.
So they,
Well,
so that by getting, they would have to, any would have to come through planning and zoning, because there would be no buffer or radius or anything.
right.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't
buffer,
understand that.
no, yeah.
I mean, I feel like just take that and just say for number 7, cross out the first part and just say that all of them shall be cited and designed to minimize adverse visual impacts. Whatever that, however you do that.
Say that
Where
again.
now?
I'm like, how is anyone going to do that? Even if it says, but that's what it's saying, that if you're within 10 miles, that it shall be cited and designed to
Yeah.
minimize adverse visual impacts on surrounding properties and the public to the greatest extent reasonably possible. That's all it's saying about that 10-mile area.
So take the 10 mile.
But I mean,
I just, like you said, just scratch this whole G and move up to on the design justification. Oh, I didn't, good point. I didn't read far enough.
Well, so.
Yes, but
Is you take your thing. Reality is that anything that's buffer, that's where I could land in Suffolk County that's regulated.
right.
Yeah.
Everything else is BLM in the middle,
right.
except for those like
So-
a little bit on Paradise and a little bit on 350.
Which paradises?
So where are you looking on that? Are you looking?
I'm looking right here. It's
So
just
I
this.
think scratch G.
Sorry, is this, I feel like we're all looking at something different because
No.
the new
Oh,
one is
so
number 7.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, so the one that just says Highway 190,
So
whatever
are
it
you
is.
suggesting take that entire
take
thing?
that entire thing out.
Okay.
And yes,
And I'm sorry, I know we have 2 different versions of what we're looking at, so that does not help.
no,
our
sorry.
situation.
So you're taking out the 10-mile buffer because it's already covered with the regs that are cited here.
Well, it just, I mean, this 10-mile buffer is gonna eliminate most of the private ground as it is. If we enforce that, so it would make it to where they couldn't even apply. If it was the 10-mile buffer, which is what he showed us. So
Which
like,
is what we've, thanks with them.
Where I'm like, it could make sense for a
Right,
cell
and-
tower to be like within the trees and a little more hidden. Like,
and that's what I'm getting at,
But-
is that, like, then it
Would
gives
we-
us the ability that we can approve and deny
But like,
instead of completely.
sorry, I am terrible about interrupting all you guys because I have a
Good.
thought and I shouldn't.
You're good.
Go ahead.
go.
Oh,
Well, I was thinking that the last part of that sentence, you know, all designs shall be cited or, whatever, shall be cited and designed to minimize adverse visual impacts on surrounding properties and the public to the greatest extent reasonably possible. I think that's okay to have that. I mean, don't we kind of want that in there? Isn't that one of the
If we could just have that
Thanks.
required for all of them
On-
and not.
On the
any-
design justification. Just,
So just keep it and then we can move it into design. I feel like the design justification one is a little weird, how it's a standalone
yeah,
bullet. Anyway, but it more goes into the design justification a little bit.
I think it's fine. I just don't think, I think it's vague and you're not gonna be able to enforce it. But as like a requirement, maybe it nudges people in that direction.
right.
But I don't think that you're gonna be able to say, well, this design doesn't, you didn't do whatever to the best of your ability. Like, if we don't have any standard or, you know,
Because if
But-
it's not said.
yeah.
Then they'll say, well, it's not.
It's like when you go to a wedding and they say like cocktail dress or whatever, and like maybe you wear a tank top and flip flops to cocktail hour.
That would be you.
Like, they're not gonna kick you out,
Right.
and everybody else is gonna be dressed nice.
Well, Vegas is a real issue.
Yeah.
Like, that is a major
It is.
I mean, it's the issue we've been struggling with on our last 3 applications.
Mhm.
You know, very vague.
Yes.
So I mean, if you guys want to have something encouraging that sort of design standard, I don't know that we should say like it has to be or must be or whatever, but like,
It's almost like part of the
encouraged.
alternative analysis in a way.
Getting into that space.
It's almost getting into that, like, did you consider this? How did you look at different options to try to prioritize them?
yeah, you just grill them, and if they say yes, then they pass.
But I think that could be part of the alternative analysis, like, that's our goal, is to cite them to try to minimize adverse visual impact. Like, that's part of the reason we're doing the alternative analysis,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, would that go at, like you said, with the design justification as they're filling out their at the time of filing, they provide their design
Oh my gosh, it really
then they
says
have
at
to-
the time of filing
Yeah,
right there.
at the time of filing. The applicant shall provide design and construction drawings to explain how how it's applicable under the standards, our zoning standards. But then, to say also or attempt, or somehow, I don't know the wording, with the minimize adverse visual impacts.
I don't like that it talks about the filing right there. That's in a very random place to take it out. Sorry.
So just take that out and say an
Yeah.
applicant shall provide
Because
design.
I would like
I would
for the
take it
design,
out.
I'd like for the application criteria to be clear and like in one area.
So take that.
take it out.
Okay.
That beginning out, and then you could, like Chase said, try and encourage, you're not necessarily, I mean, it's not, but
Okay.
encourage that as they're doing theirs, they have to realize that,
No, you're doing great.
do the stealth design,
Also,
blend into their surroundings, et cetera.
That helps.
Okay,
Next, we need Clayton's. All right.
So you're
You need to
already
try
saying,
this out.
volunteer, this is what is described in section 1.
Yes. That's true.
You define it, because I was thinking to myself, I'm
Okay.
like, that's kind of language, like, that's more language which you have in your purpose to protect the community's visual.
yeah,
We could move it to section 1 and see, we could add that into section 1 and see if there's something that needs to
And that
be
would
like,
a better.
if there's a better way to word it in section 1.
And there's gonna be some.
Yeah.
We get deeper in,
Okay.
yes.
because you guys are still.
It's
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
talking
Next
about.
question.
Unintentionally.
Yeah.
You're intentionally.
Now we're-
Okay, so should towers on federal or state land within the county also require county review?
Can we do
Need to
that?
discuss this with the county attorney.
Yeah, can we do
Could
that?
possibly participate as a cooperating agency.
So I haven't had a chance to fully explore this yet. We discussed it.
Yeah.
But
Are we a cooperating agency with everyone? So it's like, if they're going through the NEPA process, we should be invited to provide comments, right?
Yeah. And we do, just not the sheets.
Okay, I just haven't seen any of those things, so, but
Well,
I've
and
only
that-
been here for 2 months, so.
Well, but that can also be like an internal issue that we're. Showing.
Yeah, okay.
And Commissioner Vickery did mention last time that Mike Schmidt was inquiring the state if we would want to zoning in the state. But I think we end up with a constitutional issue because the state requires the maximum revenue threshold for land. So I don't know how we.
Well, and then when he brought that up, my first reaction is no. I don't, I mean,
Right.
we're just doing the right county. We're doing
Right.
the county stuff, like, do we really need to get
Well, no, he's saying,
federal and state?
what he's saying is,
They're trying to
have the
address
county-
issue.
Yeah.
Trying
No.
to address the issue, like the Supreme Court said, no, Teton County can't regulate what happens on state land.
Right.
They're thinking about trying to change it legislatively to essentially give the authority for Sublette County to govern what's happening. I think. Or am I saying,
No,
you're saying,
yeah.
it right?
I think that if you pull up on your, you look at how much actual state land we have in Sublette County, it's so minimal.
I think
What
it's
else?
the same
I
thing.
agree.
There's like a random school section here. Random, the state land trust spots, but
Right.
I think it's not worth it.
So the state of Wyoming though is all these blue squares.
just go.
I mean,
I'm good, thank you.
Like there's so.
Are you hinting?
No,
Sublette
I'm
County
just.
though,
remember these.
Yeah.
I mean,
those little
I don't
state
know.
sections are quite
Pass
awesome.
around.
I don't know. Those are little places someone could easily put a tower. On all these,
And candidly, all those in the scrum is in the middle of the 10, everybody'd be fine with that.
Okay, well.
So my answer is no.
Well, constitutionally, we could do it, but I'm not an attorney.
I don't think that, so the state would have to give us the authority to,
Right.
never given it to us. And from the federal perspective, I think that from the operating agency, we can, but it's gonna be as much. Is-
I don't think it's something we need to address right this year.
I don't
Maybe
either.
next. Be honest.
I
Right.
agree.
I agree.
Next.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
okay. You guys.
All right, tower design, height and visual standards. Our current height thresholds, 40 foot in residential, 60 foot in other zones appropriate.
I know this is a very vague question. The 40-foot residential, now I'm like, where did these come from?
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it?
Proposed Brexit.
Okay, I was like, I'm sorry, I don't remember where this all came from, but
It was on page. It is page 6. I think there's small wireless facilities. For height variance. It's the only place in our report. 80 years. Yeah, so that's your heritage right there. On page 6.
you're looking at the same page.
I am not see it.
I think you're looking at the,
Right.
are you looking at the cleaned up version?
No, he's looking at the
Oh, maybe
old one,
it's-
cause I'm looking at the same one.
Let me print it. I started printing and I think it got really.
My
No,
computer's
she-
done. My computer's dying, so I couldn't pull it up.
But I started printing it, but then when I went to print it, I was like, why is it saying this is only 3 pages long?
And 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm in right now. Do that one. We will both be in it. But let me pull that up on the shared screen. No, it was, okay, so you're saying it's in the variance? I can do a control F.
well, in general.
Yeah, it is the top.
think
bottom of
those
the
are-
sentence.
Yeah,
I think
so.
you beat me. I know, me
I
too.
don't think we need to overanalyze that too
I
much. Are
don't.
you okay with that?
Bastard.
What,
I mean,
what were we okay with?
with
Are
the
current height thresholds?
40-foot in residential and 60 in others.
Yeah, I think.
Otherwise, you have to require
Yeah.
a
Or
height
else you need a
variance.
What do you think, Chase? Do you feel?
Are you watching the game?
No, it's reading,
Oh.
sorry.
The current height thresholds?
You want me to go through all this stuff?
It's halftime, by the way. So
Well,
Who's winning, Chase? It's
it's tied 7-7.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
this is
doing
what we're
great.
talking about.
We're doing great.
So the question is, are current height thresholds 40-foot residential, 60-foot other zones appropriate?
I'm pulling up our current. Don't wanna lie to you guys. It's,
I was just going back to check.
okay, here it is.
And the,
Okay,
Yeah, I was thinking it was 30.
so it's that 30 principal buildings. These zone districts is 30. Those, all other, the principal buildings shall be 35. And then accessory buildings, this is the height requirements for accessory buildings. So I think the 60 was because it's accessory and A1. And then 40 though may have been, I don't know where that 40 number came from, but I also think it has to do with we had something in here about like the extra 10% or
But I remember it was a 35-foot, right, in residential, wasn't that when we went
35.
through all this?
Well, really the maximum height for it,
I remember that in our past, and you mentioned that too. Chase, what was that? Wasn't it 35-foot residential?
okay,
Yes.
and then we have this here, radio or TV antennas, this saying about it can exceed 6 feet over that. So it's like if we wanted to say the maximum accessory building 6 or sorry, what was the question again?
Are the current
current-
height thresholds 40-foot residential, 60-foot other zones, but it might be 35-foot residential and 60-foot other zones appropriate?
Well, and other zones, like going based on that doesn't cover because other zones. I guess I don't know I guess I'm not following where they got the 40 and the 60 for this
It
because
said 40s. Where did you say it says 40? Because I don't see that in.
6-year-old.
in
We're trying to
the,
figure out where it came from.
I think it's organic within this.
I think
I
so.
think it
I think
is.
Still don't see. Where is this 40 and 60 is?
so on the bottom of small wireless facilities, on site development, it's the very last one.
Thank
Oh,
you. Okay, so that's actually
I've got
marked out.
I've got the mark,
That's why. Okay, yes.
but let me, oh, now it's,
Okay, so it's the bottom here.
no, it's not.
Just do no markup.
So where did you say this again?
On the bottom, small wireless facilities. Sorry, this is the old one.
Okay,
That's
it's
section
actually at the
3.
top of page 6.
Okay,
Yep, I'll fix it.
Permitted height in zone districts.
yeah, there you go.
I mean, I'm not opposed to those heights. I guess I just don't understand where they came from.
I don't know.
I mean, is there any strategic? Maybe that's something we need to ask Chris whenever he's back, if there was some reason why they.
I wonder if 40 was also to make it where you could be over the height of the primary structure so that you're getting, it probably has to be over
Do you
the
think
height.
it came from the satellite? Because satellite, you have to have a clear view.
Like the
and
line of sight,
construction.
you have to have line of
That's what I'm
sight.
saying.
So it's like, in order to get line of sight, you have to be taller than, yes.
Does.
I mean, like I
wonder if
said,
that's-
I'm not opposed to those heights. I just don't know where they came from. But I mean,
Don't know. I think this was just something that was previously proposed. Yeah.
Let's go to the
Right.
next one and see if
Okay.
we can.
Okay. Should height variances be routinely allowed or tightly restricted? I mean, I feel like that's kind of a,
Anytime
I
you're
know.
above a certain deal, you have a
Loaded.
variance, right?
right,
How
so,
frequent or infrequent.
I mean, I mean,
Do you have a
I think
specific-
that's a,
I think it's proposed in here. Yes, it's proposed under the new section 4. I feel like the wording is a little, it's like, is this the conditional use or the height variance questions?
Says section 4.
Yes. It mixes the CUP and height variance, the questions.
mhm. I mean, I feel like this question, with all due respect, it's just, I guess it's just kind of vague to me, like, what are we answering? Should they be routinely allowed or tightly restricted? I mean, I think that a variance is a variance, like, it's gonna have to go through a process. And like, what is someone's interpretation of tightly restricted? I mean, I don't like tightly restricted at all. I don't like, ever like the phrase tightly restricted.
Mhm.
It's just, it goes through a process, no different than anything else does.
And I think the height threshold, I think that's what we just need to
Decide
decide.
on is the
Yeah.
height threshold, and then if it's above that, well, then you go through the process.
Yeah.
Like, it's not being willy-nilly about
It's just
anything. It's
enforced,
just,
You know, it's.
right.
So,
Believe me. And
so
it's,
maybe scratch that.
Scratch that, yeah. How strongly should stealth design be enforced? Always required or only near residential scenic areas? So we just, I mean, I feel like we already went over this, right? That we can't really enforce it.
How do we
Um,
enforce anything now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think it should be,
Really? Have we done that? Okay,
I mean, I just think like,
Ask me to do. Believe. She has to.
so I mean, I think, like I said, we can highly encourage, and that's all part of what we've talked about with the process of the alternative analysis, all of that process, but I don't feel like we can strictly enforce it.
Maybe that's the difference. It should be stealth design should be encouraged
Yes.
instead of not even using,
know where I put
you know,
this.
She doesn't know that.
no?
Okay.
From the perspective of then, like, back to these. But like, from that perspective, if you're encouraging something, it's like the word should and not. I see the word should and not. It's not useless. Like you telling your teenager, you should do the dishes. Like when was.
My teenagers know you should, because my
I don't,
boot,
because- Well, no, because you can do that.
right,
There is no boot to stick up.
right,
Sense,
right.
this, where it's like, we're encouraging you to make it stuff, you know, like. Lance, are you gonna do anything you're encouraged to do? I saw his hand not raise up, so. It's just not, we don't have the enforcement capability,
That's fair.
so
so why is it?
But
even
having
in there?
enforced in that language,
Is that
I
what
don't
you're
know
saying?
if that was really what we were.
so the way that we've done it currently right now. Under our, albeit. wonky square peg round hole process through a public facility is that it has been required as a condition of the approval. And so if you want to empower the county to have the ability to do that, and we can build in a variety of ways to do it, but from a policy perspective, if you want the county to have the authority and ability to require someone to make a stealth tower, do it. And probably not spitballing right now, smithing right now, but or from a policy perspective, if you want, how strongly should it be enforced? If you all want to say, yeah, we want the county to have the authority to say, thou shalt make a tower tree.
But I don't think we all want to do that.
Then don't do it.
Yeah.
But if you're not gonna say, we give the county the authority to do it, saying we encourage it, you think you should think about doing it, like.
Yeah.
It's either black or
Yeah,
white.
we
Either
don't.
the county has the authority to make them do it in certain circumstances.
What's
don't
the
like-
harm, what's the harm in putting it in there? I mean, granted, some of the trees are just hideous, but maybe there would be an applicable position for a tower. That it could be.
So it depends on how much discretion you want to give to, or that you think that both this board and that other should have. What is that level of discretion? So because politics is politics, that is the root of our system. So there are gonna be times when the county commissioners are gonna be composed of, or comprised of a group of people who
The next question.
are gonna want every single tower to be
Tree.
a tree.
Or to be.
And those three knuckleheads, because they will be, are gonna be, like, they're gonna say every tower has to be a tree, and every tower that was built in between those years is gonna be a tree. And you're gonna have another wave where you're gonna have some county commissioners that are like, nah, I don't want them to look like trees. Chase is the county commissioner. Then you won't have towers look like trees.
Chase is gonna just say, put a 500 tower in there. Why
I'd
is
just
Chase?
rather trust that the guys wanna put up a nice tower, why do we need all these rules?
One time, just build one giant tower. rule them all.
That's what we need to do, yeah,
It's
That's
so
all
bad.
Stewart
Everybody
Point.
go like you.
yeah. Maybe the county should build that tower on Stewart Point and lease space.
That is so funny because I was just thinking.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking.
Maybe you should build the tower on Stewart Point and then lease space. Good business endeavor.
Well, that way I can learn a little bit more
But
about.
then you'd be
towers.
conflicted and you have to excuse, maybe I should build it.
But I think that's
Then I can
kind of
watch
that
the game.
wording.
I have to recuse myself.
I kind of like the idea, having it where we have the ability to do that. We don't have to use it. We do have the ability to do that.
You can allow, and that's part of the political, if you want to
I
say,
do.
we trust the voters of Sublette County to put people in policy positions to make policy decisions, you can do it. That goes. to
But I'm
the-
not saying it's. I'm not saying it's gonna be in every instance. I'm just saying that having that capability of doing it.
This is, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Right, yeah,
You
yeah,
want
yeah.
to empower them to make that call or not? And if you want to empower them to make that call, then you can design a regulation that says they have the authority to require a tower to be counterpart. The whole
Oh,
point
but-
is,
You mean like, so you would have language in there that would say just exactly what you said.
Yes.
yeah,
Planning and
Yeah.
zoning may have the authority.
something,
what are you
we can build a regulation however,
We would
so
use may.
from the policy, so thinking about it from highest level down to the actual words in the regulation, from the policy perspective of here, do you trust your elected officials to make the decision between camouflage or not camouflage on a tower? And if you say, yeah, we want them to be able to make that policy decision, we want to give them the authority to choose, yes, this tower needs to be camouflage, no, this tower doesn't. And when we work down through the nitty gritty and get to the wordsmithing, we can accomplish that policy goal through regulation. but you all are here to make the policy decision. And then we go back in the next 3 weeks and we sit down and we wordsmith it, and then we come back and say, here's what we wordsmith in order to accomplish your policy 10,000-foot view goal.
I get that, but it's still, and I don't know how to explain it, it still seems like it's an added layer of enforcement or requirement that
It
bothers
could
me.
be.
But what's the
Kind of.
point of a CUP then? If it's just like the point of the CUP is to look at, to make these conditions, it would be part of the CUP of like, does it need to have the stealth or not, depending on the location?
I'm just thinking of the conversation that happened with the town of Pinedale with
The
Museum of the
the
Mountain.
Mountain, yes.
That was a mess. And it could have been resolved quickly.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's used, I'm saying we have to use it.
just don't want to make it so tricky for the applicant to have all these little standards. And I think these standards are important, but I mean, these requirements, you can go overboard on that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I hear
And,
you.
you
Yeah.
know,
And honestly, I truthfully, if I'm being 100% honest, like I hate when we approve an application and put 10 million conditions on it. Like I hate
Yeah.
that. I think that it's just, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I understand that there can be some benefits to conditions, but I think it's overused, I guess.
Nobody's pushing. I
Right.
think in some of those circumstances, if you have a battery of emissions, I think that there's only
Hmm.
But that's why I would like to have something in our code.
guides more conditions.
Right.
Just pure driven. Yeah. But again, in that situation, think about what level of discretion are you giving
I
the
know.
policymaker? Because just as there's going to be times when you have policymakers that are sitting at the table with you.
Well,
Like this goes back to
Absolutely. I understand what you're saying.
and that's the thing that I guess, that's the thing that I try to think about with all of this process of the regulations is not thinking about who's sitting here now, but thinking about, I mean, I plan to be here my entire life. Who's going to be in this position in 20 years? And how can they twist around the things that we put into, that we implement now?
It's a living document, could change anytime.
Correct.
I mean, it's only taken 7 years to document.
I just, like I said, I just think we just have to be mindful of,
It's like, at the end of the day, that is,
right.
so the voters of Suffolk County are gonna pick people who want to make decisions, and planning and zoning is probably, I would argue, the most intrusive decision that the county makes. And the control that the county has over a person's life. Side of executions.
Yet the public doesn't have an opinion on who's put on this board.
They do because they're appointed through Board of County Commission.
Right.
So inherently, that political process that picks 5 individuals that sit on the BOCC, they are appointing you.
Right.
So it does trickle down to a point. And at the end of the day, the buck stops there. So do you trust the voters to put discretion you want to give them?
well, maybe that's, you know, how we want to word stealth design is something we need to back to
Come back to that one. Yeah,
and see, you
that
know,
sounds good.
in order to how much of that, that's going to require a little.
I would agree. I want to marinate on that one a bit longer.
I just think you see, you can tell.
Right.
That's still gonna be something, yeah.
Sometimes the tree, it works.
Mhm.
True.
Absolutely understand.
Because it makes it bigger usually, like,
But what if though people are against it and they're like, well, if you guys did do the stealth tower as a tree, that now we're for it. What if that was the public feedback? what if the public was like, even if they think it's gonna be, some people might think it's gonna be ugly, but majority of people who live in that area would be okay with it, with the condition that it looked like a tree.
We never get that though. We get a couple of people about faves or whatever, and maybe the view. And everybody that doesn't show up doesn't care. Most of them don't care. That was my experience on the Verizon Tower. And now, like, remember it, you know, for a few people it was a big deal, and this is
Right.
Isn't it funny
it's
how,
still there.
don't you think it's funny how now that we've gone over towers, you see them everywhere?
Yes, I would
never
agree
even
with
noticed
that.
half
I
of them,
don't
and now
even, I don't notice them.
I
I
don't.
know someone's in town
I'm
more
starting
than
to see them.
too.
There was a bunch I never noticed
I had
till.
to go look. We went to a volleyball game in Big Piney. I'm like, where are these water towers they're talking about? I don't even see them. I got blinders on. I see the mountains everywhere I go.
I see all the telephone
Yeah, that's
utility lines. That's still amazing. Anyway,
Okay,
So-
so let's circle back around
Yeah.
to that one. So should lighting be limited to FAA minimums with shielded fixtures near residential zones?
So that's well, what you're taking.
oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just anything over to FA.
I'm trying to remember where, so you have, there's two different things in there. There is the requirement. It's in the FCC that references it, but it, that what towers have to have their own. So there's a height level where you.
So under elimination and security fences.
Yes.
There's cell towers, this is what is in the, not the one that Haley cleaned up, sorry.
It's the same wording. though.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Cell towers, depending upon their height, shall not be artificially lighted except as required by the FAA. In cases where there are residential zone properties located within a distance of half a mile of the tower, any tower subject to this section shall be equipped with lighting that minimizes its effect on residential zone properties. Also, oh, sorry, that's separate. It's not the lighting.
And this is really only talking about macro cells, the macro cells. It's like it was within the macro cell discussion and not, which maybe they're not used as much for, are the small cells even lit?
So you're right, it is 200 feet. And. Yeah, do you guys want to have tower less than 200?
You're flying under 200 feet, you have zero problems.
It depends on where it's at,
I
though.
think all towers within a certain distance. Regardless of.
Terror, yeah.
Right. Right? Yeah.
Okay, so what about though if you have like a private landing strip? Or if you're, well, no, but I mean, no, I don't want to get into that conversation, but I mean, I guess I'm just trying to think. I'm thinking, because I have lots of pilots in my family and
But I think your point is well taken. Because the FAA is not regulating a landing strip. So should the county be thinking about proximity to landing strips when they're deciding what towers,
right,
regardless of what the.
I think that is
correct.
it right there. If there are private landing strips within a certain mile of certain towers that are being put up.
Yeah. Sounds like that's your regulation as well.
I mean, that's what I think,
Just
because that's where my brain goes to immediately is, like I said, like to a private strip.
That makes sense. So the answer. to
I
that
do
question-
think it makes sense, but I also, like, night sky thing too. Have to.
The night sky's
But-
pretty rough.
The thing is that, I mean, but truthfully though, how many private landing strips are there? Oh, really? I didn't realize there's that many.
Well, first
But
of
I
all,
mean,
I
I don't know.
Personally,
I
don't think
just,
anyone's gonna be
I mean, I think that you'd be surprised though.
Almost
Good
think though, this question, really all we talk about is cell tower lighting related to FAA. What about just general lighting? Is it all FAA though, the lighting?
Well, so I think that's the question that's being,
Yeah,
should we add additional lighting other than just the 200 foot?
I think we should at least, like what other, like does FCC have their own lighting requirement?
I
It's,
think it's, well, they adopted it.
yeah,
That's not- But to Holly's point, I think that that is something that we can easily add language paragraphs to create a buffer zone around. I think strict word.
Hmm. I mean,
So-
that's what I think.
What's the buffer? I think 200. You don't need to look it up. I'm just curious. Because I'm saying it might have to be within a half a mile. Okay, mile? For over 30 feet, is that what you're thinking?
I was thinking just because. Trying to see what they do for. Sure. I don't know.
I know that airports, though, yes, they have their own buffers too, because I remember the Pinedale Airport. That we even have something in our code about buffers with
We
airports.
have site restrictions
We-
in the generalized.
Yes, near airports with towers, that's like our only tower
tower.
requirement.
I think it's all structures.
But isn't there something specific about towers in our regulation?
The word.
Yes, the only place in the whole regulation. But it has to do with airports, I think.
Yeah, it is. Approaches shall be free of towers. And lighting.
That's all it says.
So,
Okay.
Short and sweet.
Okay. So moving on. Everybody good to move on?
but you are suggesting to build something around.
Yes.
Language for.
Okay, is the setback of 110% of tower height adequate to protect nearby properties?
Professional engineer.
I know we got comments about this. I personally feel like the one thing that's beneficial is that a lot of properties, I believe there was comment from Union that a lot of these are meant to fall inwards. I think one of the comment was from Union. Let me read this. The design is to more fall in itself. I have this comment in here.
Well, and guide towers.
I do know the town has this in their code too, and I feel like being in the town of Pinedale, imagine how much more restrictive it is because of how small properties are. Where it's like, this could make it where it's a little more limited in residential, where now we could add it in any, if it is allowed in any zone district, but now you have this 110%. That could create a limiting factor for in some residential zone districts.
Do you think that setback of 110% of tower height is adequate?
I think it's not unreasonable to ask personally, but I know what's that in here?
I asked my husband that.
Yeah, I
He
was gonna
said-
say you're
Like, yeah.
married to an
Yeah,
engineer.
What did
I
he
asked
say?
him that. He said, yeah,
I don't.
that's just fine. Honey.
can't-
But
So I have a question on that, I guess.
It's page 9.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is that in all zoning types?
Says tower structure shall be set back. District in which it is located.
Okay. Union's comment is this makes sense in certain circumstances with monopoles especially. Lattice towers are designed to fall within themselves, thus reducing the risk of a failure going 50% outside of the tower center in relation to height. When considering different zone districts, certain justifications or jurisdictions see that this may not necessarily be a blanket number, rather dependent on certain tower style in zoning districts.
So you could instead you could phrase it as saying, our structure and design shall be sufficient to protect, ensure that in the event of a catastrophic failure, the tower falls within the, or something to that effect,
Mhm.
because then you can allow a person to say, yeah, this tower is designed to be a 50%, this tower is 100% failure. Like a guy tower, the guy wires, if one of them goes, that's
Right.
and it's just in it is, and that's what they're talking about, the difference between everything else. If their weakest point is in the middle, so if you have wind shear, it's gonna break the middle and it's gonna fall. So based on design, you could instead of, I think that's what
He's seeing a fall zone, for instance, maybe an industrial zone districts might have a fall zone of 25%. But then LR, Lance's comment, this can make parcels unbuildable, which the FCC has repeatedly held. Constitutes a prohibition on services unless the county can provide clear safety necessity based on modern ANSI TIA 222 wind shear collapse model. I mean, I do think though, it's like, if there is just a general number, it makes it easy for us versus,
Well, I kind of like what Clayton said, depending upon the tower.
yes,
Like, so you put up the
I do.
applicant to show what the falls.
Yeah.
yes, show what a fall zone is. That's a good
Yes.
idea.
I,
I agree.
Put on there to design the fall zone so it stays within.
That's a
the
great
property
idea.
And away from others.
yes.
Okay. That's a good idea.
See, so glad you're here.
Should we though, does there need to be, I mean, a building permit, you still have to meet all the setbacks on the property, no matter what. So it would still have to meet all the setbacks. But it could still, it wouldn't necessarily, does it have to be an additional setback? That's what I'm wondering. Does it-
Depending,
Like
depending
if the
on,
fall zone is less than the set. That should be okay,
It's
right?
never gonna be-
But not all, like front setback and rear.
It's like in terms of our smallest setback,
right.
I think it's still going to be. To your point, yes, you're not gonna be able to get the building permit.
Right. But it won't need to be additional. We can still use that area. It's not measured from the setback. It's measured from the property line.
Plus. all that.
Yes. But I'm feeling like we could just do from
Just-
the property line, right?
Yes,
Just
so
measure
just the
fall zone.
fall zone is from property line.
Fall zone from property line, but it needs to
'Cause-
also meet this set.
Yes,
So I thought I understood you and then I.
I'm not asking for additional setback. I just want to make sure.
This is the property. Yeah. Oh, yes, there is. Here's the setback right here. And here's our fall zone. Are you saying that you want this fall zone to be within the setback, or do you want the fall zone to be to the property line?
I'm saying, I think it can be to the property line, but you also need to make sure.
as
that
long
you
as it
don't meet-
still is,
Because this one is built inside the setback, so.
yes,
This.
yes,
It's inside the setback, the fall zone is there, so this one's okay. We're not saying you have to be this one.
yes,
Saying,
This one is not okay,
and it would
Correct.
at least have to be here.
so
Yes.
yes,
yes. Correct,
you're on, yes,
Yes.
it's okay.
yes,
We'll stop.
So it's just, you still have to meet, you just still need to meet building setbacks.
Yes.
That's all. That's,
okay,
I just want to make sure we're not like doubling the setback.
Yeah.
okay.
Good
Everybody
job, we
good?
got through that section.
Look at us go.
Things we have to go back. to.
Steve, how you doing back there? You've been kind of quiet. Are you watching the game? Okay, fair enough.
Comments, Steve? Any?
Okay.
Okay, so guys, make the applicant provide the fall zone,
Yeah,
Mhm.
the provide,
tower and structure design.
yeah.
Okay. Is there any other public comment online before we move on? We kind of covered a lot there. Okay. All right. So moving on, co-location and shared use. Should new towers be required to support at least 3 providers, or should that number be flexible?
I think I have kind of an opinion on this.
Okay, let's hear it. Kind of one?
But I don't know, you guys have to help me form it. But I think requiring 3 providers would make for a huge tower, and I don't think that is reasonable. I think that's unreasonable, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
Mhm.
I think that could be at least, if you want to add, instead of at least 3 providers, maybe at least 1 other provider, because like if Lance has his, he wants to build a new tower, or Union has theirs, enough space where they could have at least 1 other.
Mhm.
And then if they want to do more, then they could come and get a variance to build higher or in addition or whatever. But to have 3, I think 3 providers on 1 tower would make for a huge height deal that I don't think is reasonable for Sublette County.
I think too, it could also make it where, could this make it where someone no longer falls though in a small wireless facility?
Yeah.
At that
Right.
point, we're now all of a sudden, just because of one, we're encouraging a taller
Yes.
tower, and now all of a sudden it's gonna fall under the macro tower,
And I don't know if that's, I don't think that's what we
right?
want to do. That's not really what
I
I
don't
want
know,
to do.
did Chris say where that came from? Because we had a lengthy discussion, like 45 minutes, because we
Mhm.
didn't have a time.
It was added in at some point that
I say, okay with 1, but I kind of agree, you don't want someone to be here going, I'm gonna do a 60-foot tower, but with your requirement, now I'm gonna have to do a 90-foot tower.
So I think one of the things when
Yeah,
they,
they're up to 160 foot or something to
I-
have 3 deals.
right.
That's crazy.
I think and I guess I'm just speculating. From some of the discussion, like from Chris and what I remember, I wasn't on the board at this time, but what I remember them going through this, because I was there for part of is I think there was a misinterpretation of how much space you actually needed to add. Because I think that, I'll be honest with you, like in my ignorance, like I didn't realize how much space you needed to add extra users. Like I was like, man, just put another antenna or another dish up there. Like just, yeah, and so I didn't understand until, I don't remember if it was Lance or the gentleman from Union
Chris,
that
yeah.
Chris that explained it a lot better, like how much space they actually
Well,
need
and the integrity of the tower.
and the integrity of the tower. So like I said, I shouldn't speculate, but I guess I'm just, if I remember right, like,
If only we had somebody online that could answer this question for us. Yeah, no, but I also, I mean, I've brought this up before in our other, I don't like putting just obscure numbers requirements on things. I think that
mhm.
encouraging co-location or at least 1 other user is, I can live with that.
Right.
I don't like 3 at all.
I agree. That bothers me too.
those comments. Maybe I don't even need to talk about the comments. I think they were
I mean-
similar to what we've talked about, is the additional height.
Yeah,
And even how it can, like, just depending on who you're willing to co-locate with, depending on what you're doing, if it's Wi-Fi versus cell service, and doesn't always
Right,
work.
right.
Doesn't always, it's not always the best option to co-locate.
So I mean, I don't know. My gut instinct is to not put a number on it at all. Like not even 1. But I mean,
I would like to say
definitely
I
not
know
3.
Don't. That's
Mm.
I don't know.
Right.
Wi-Fi versus cell service, what it would take. I do know towers are extremely, that's it.
Well, so that brings up another point too, is that what if you have a tower that's really truthfully, trying to think of what an exact, that really is most likely never been going to be co-shared. So we make them build this elaborate tower just for their one little
in
bit of
case
service
somebody comes in.
in case
And they may.
somebody comes in.
And
I
then,
mean, and why should it be on that person, that company to build this bigger, more elaborate tower in case somebody comes in?
well, and I think that maybe those companies generally maybe don't want to co-locate. They might kind of want their own towers anyway. So,
Right.
you know, you may have a hard time.
Fancy words that. There are alternatives.
Yeah, like just have you looked into that,
Yeah.
into the co-location with the alternative analysis?
So, okay, so this is a dumb question. Sorry. Is there, so I know nothing about these towers. Like, is there ever, do you know, like, is there the possibility to add on to towers? Is that such a thing?
Yes.
Generally, they will be designed to be able to add on. Federal regulations usually allow add on like,
Yeah.
without asking, I think it's 15%.
There is like a certain percent that you can just do an add-on, yeah.
But when they're doing the designs, because I've seen them when they come across where it's like, I'll give you an example. So the last visionary tower that was put up, one that's up on the Rifle Range,
Uh-huh.
when we asked for their tower design, they gave us like a pamphlet that was like, well, this is what this tower is capable. Like, well, we're only gonna build it to this height. It's capable of going to like 100 feet. They were just doing like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, it's the same tower, you're just building higher. And so
Right.
a lot of times they are designed to be variable height.
Okay.
I do think Chris commented on that though, that it can make it challenging when it comes to the co-location of who that next provider, who else is gonna be on the tower. And for the design, depending on what wind loads, like the base, the foundation. I remember him just saying,
Yes.
it's not, it's,
You have to
Yeah.
have your base ready, prepared to add on.
Right.
he just said it can be challenging if you're going to say, oh, design it for 2 or 3 additional co-locations where it's like, well, they might want that highest spot. And then
Right.
they have to start moving things around and
So like I said, I guess I just don't agree with that
So
requiring,
not requiring anything for.
that's what I think.
Just look at it through your alternative.
I think
That Haley's gonna work ideas, grab some stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, okay, look into for alternative analysis of using existing structures, but the new tower doesn't necessarily have to
Have to,
provide the space.
yes.
But here's the thing. I'm gonna build it. Co-locations. Straight.
Right.
Doesn't mean you have to do it.
Although that's what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna build, if I'm coming in here and I'm trying to like, try and score points with the group. Like, I don't have to build this to handle 3 other people. Gonna, just because I want to. Which I'm gonna make this space available for people.
Right.
My likelihood of getting a. Okay.
Which just goes
But
back
now,
to your,
because you're like, damn it, it's taller.
Well, exactly. Some people might not
Yeah.
like.
Tammy's on board.
Well, and I think to encourage, you know, co-location is important, you know. That's what we wanted, but to mandate it. I don't know.
I agree.
I think we.
next.
Okay.
Thank you, finally.
Timer.
Where have you been for
It
the
felt
last
like-
2.5
it felt like we were-
hours? Seriously, that's the first time that you said something.
You guys do it on your own.
Oh my gosh.
Love to just.
Jeez.
on things.
Should a co-location analysis be mandatory for every new application? I mean, I feel like
We said
we
yes.
said yes, yeah.
We said yes.
And I think that can just be part of the alternative analysis.
Alternative analysis, yes.
I love that.
How, can the county ensure co-location does not delay new coverage where needed?
I
I mean,
agree.
how can they ensure that it doesn't delay?
Let's just skip that.
Let's skip it.
Okay. Okay. Process and review. Look at us get through this. Yes, sir. Come on down. It's like the price is right. Steve Christensen, come on down. You're the next contestant.
You know, I think the real trade-off on requiring co-location or not is whether you want tall towers or a lot of towers. I suspect the locations of the tower for signals are common amongst carriers, right? If there's a good location for one carrier, it's probably good for several carriers, right? And that's why you'll see a particular hill that has 20 towers on it, right? So again, I think the policy issue or concern is really, do you want tall towers or do you want a lot of towers?
Right.
And then in my comments, I did quote Teton County's regulation, and they have an interesting, I know, I said the bad word. I recognize that. But Teton County's regulation is very, very interesting. It's not incorporated in the draft. And it says that all new towers must be open to having co-location on their towers. And so it's an interesting kind of twist. It's not, hey, I'm building a new tower, I need to go find a co-location. It's if you've got a tower, you have to be open to having others co-locate on your tower. So that's something that you ought to.
And so that was the question of how many we should allow. We should do that.
But maybe if it is still even 50 feet and maybe another provider will come in and be like, well, I'm actually fine if it's at 40 feet, even though they weren't really planning on using that space for co-location.
No, I understand the conversation. You said we're not going to require co-location, but we'll have consider it in the alternative analysis. But my point is if you build a tower and I own the tower, you know, it's a new tower, I have to be open to co-locating. Right now, I own the tower. I don't have to let anybody come co-locate.
Well,
There's no.
that's an interesting question too, is that you're asking essentially, how does that? So the person's basically
your
coming
tower,
saying,
you
yeah, I'm open to it, but I'm gonna charge $1 million a day.
No, I understand. But in the regulation is interesting in the sense that I think it implies like you'd expect an indemnity to hold harmless. If my crew comes out and destroys the tower, then I'm gonna have to pay for it, even though you own the tower. So there is a fair amount of negotiations that have to take place anytime you're gonna co-locate.
And
But I do like the language in there that says if you're building a tower, you have to be open to co-locating on your tower. And, you know, if you have one or no spots or anything like that, you know, I think, and
Well,
it's just something to think about.
Like
It is-
building new towers.
I think it is good too, because the other thing that Teton County does is they do a co-location notification that they're required to do and like reach out to other providers. And they have to show proof of the notification.
Which might be part of the
Yeah,
alternative
to say-
process.
Just to give notice.
To give notice to them as far as like, to see if other people are open to co-location. Yeah,
So, you know,
I remember seeing that.
my only problem with all of this, though, I get the whole idea of co-location. Coming from a business owner's perspective, I guess I see it too, though, as if you own a candy shop and your landlord says, well, but you have to be open to another candy shop coming in and opening up beside of you. Like, what about like business wise? Like, why should they have to open up a tower that they built to a competitor? I know.
It's really important. but
You know?
We can replace.
I mean, I understand.
You charge a lot.
I understand
To run that candy.
I understand minimizing, but I mean, I'm just simply saying from a business owner's perspective, like
Policy tension that you guys sit down and make.
Lance, what do you got for us?
Yeah, sorry about that. I've got kids running around here, so I got a little distracted sometimes. But So I've ran into a few things related to this whole co-location piece you guys are talking about. And so I'm familiar with the Teton County discussion that started that language in their zoning. And sometimes what happens is, like you just touched on, is a carrier will build a tower, but they'll either refuse someone else to co-locate on it or make it so cost absorbent that it makes more sense for that potential new colo to just build their own tower. We've had the experience in Evanston, Wyoming, where we were building a tower and the town required us to build it to support ourselves plus 2 other carriers. And so that made that tower substantially larger than it would have been had we just been allowed to build what we wanted. And then 2 years later, I think it was Verizon or maybe T-Mobile, they come in and built a 150-foot tower like right behind us to support their structure, because what they were going to put on there was 2 different carriers on a big monopole that our structure wasn't big enough for in the end for them. And so I think from a policy place, maybe you want to require people to be open to it if you want to reduce the number of towers, but there's got to be a lot of technical consideration there. I would say that if someone isn't open to co-location, they're not going to try. And even if they do try, they're going to come up with technical reasons to not have to co-locate. And if they want to co-locate, they're going to find a place to co-locate. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, that's just, yeah, that's a good perspective.
Because it may be their business benefit.
Right. Okay, so moving on. Process and review. Should small wireless installations be handled administratively instead of through a full CUP hearings?
I think Steve said.
Uh,
I think a lot of. We mentioned that we're in Lincoln.
I mean, I think so.
So if we're thinking, I just want to add one point to think. When Haley makes a decision, talking about an administrative permit versus issues, she makes a decision. Her decision can be appealed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like
It's a great,
it's not like you're
it's the end all be all.
all of the authority on Haley's shoulders. Haley or whoever
Right.
is hired after Haley.
But how long does someone have to appeal? Okay, so I issue a permit for a tower. I mean, we'd have to go back and look at that appeal process because sometimes it's like nothing is noticed within 30 days. Like no one would even know. They might not know until.
From the in terms of the denial. Generally, you're not appealing, and candidly, I'm trying to think. With that appeal, I think it is. By any person agreeing with the decision. So it could be by a person who's upset. So to your point, you're saying no one's gonna know that power issue was issued until a person's.
Until like
This
maybe
is where-
the 30 days is up.
This is where we have. Could create the administrative process, which in your tower application process. There's. Say, all building permits are coming, I think that's what they do in. On the app, as soon as it's completed and it's submitted, it's on the website for.
Christy and I have so much time to do that.
Well, I know that you don't, I know that, but I'm just saying from.
Right.
From a perspective of being able to protect. A
Right.
person with the ability to do that. You also could broaden the appeal time period. For.
Right.
And you could make a specific notice requirement just for towers versus all.
So literally though, someone's gonna build a tower and then appeal it and then maybe have to take a tower down.
No, because like you're talking time between, so if they jump on it and they build it within 30 days of getting their. bid for it, then yeah, theoretically.
So,
What he's saying is county have the ability to say, we don't like your decision, so they would know right then and there.
So I have in my notes, correct me if I'm wrong. I have wrote down in my notes that we already went over this and chose, when Chris was here at the last meeting, and chose not to have a CUP for small wireless.
Okay, I missed that, sorry.
I mean, that's what I have wrote down in two different
Okay.
places. Is that we all agreed
Okay, let's do that.
not.
Thank you.
Do we want to have a longer? Want to have a different process so that it can be agreed?
No.
So you're saying require a permit.
So, okay, so if you're not doing a conditional use permit, you're doing an administrative permit. I want to build a 35-foot tower. I go in, I have a great working relationship with planning and zoning administrator. I bring some cookies. I get my permit, everything's hunky-dory. I go out and I build my tower. The time I get my, because I'm not gonna hire a contractor and do all the things until I get my permit, because I don't know if I'm able to build it. So I do that in that time period. By the time in there, I'm hiring someone to come in, do my concrete, all the things. By the time I get that tower up, it's been 45 to 60 days before a construction crew even shows up out there, to build the tower. First time my neighbor even knows, what's going on over there?
Right.
Hey, Clayton, what are you doing? Oh, I'm building a tower. If you're building a tower, I don't want you to build a tower. Well, tough shit, because now it's 60 days past there that you can't do it. But if we created some kind of additional notice requirement on the approval of it versus any other building, then my neighbor would know, would see on the website, or they would get that you could require the tower builder to, upon receiving permit, you could require them to send out mail notice to the neighbors, hey, I got a tower. There's 30 days to.
Okay, like the short-term rental, we require the neighbor notices, something
For all
that's,
intents and purposes.
yeah.
So then my neighbor knows Clayton got a permit, I've got 30 days, and if I don't get it within 30 days, I speak now.
I
So-
think we should make all.
That's what I think.
So is there, okay, so for a regular building permit, like to build an accessory structure, there's no
There's no
requirements.
neighbor notices.
Cause your neighbor's gonna bitch no matter what. Like, seriously. So like, I guess why are we treating my neighbor? Yes. But why? I guess, but that's my thinking though, is that why should towers be any different than any other building
They're
permit?
inherently,
Is the administrator, someone comes in and complains about,
Like,
because all of a sudden you're just like, well, this is the process, like, what do I?
but the thing is that you're always gonna have, I just feel like you're always gonna have people that complain. They can come back 2 years later and be like, wait a minute, I hate that they did this. Like, I feel like I don't feel like a tower should be treated any different than any other building permit as far as the length of time that they can contest it. How is it any different than a building?
Well,
It's not the length of time.
notice.
It's still talking 30 days.
Oh, okay, but like even, I don't know, like,
because towers are inherently more.
that's the same height? It's just like short-term rentals are more annoying than a long-term rental.
You have to know.
Cause that's what I don't agree with that either. Like, I don't agree with having to get an okay from your neighbor to want to do something on your property. Like,
It's not getting an okay, it's giving them the opportunity to challenge the
So
decision.
What,
Is-
yes, on
so-
what grounds are they going to contest? If it's an accepted use,
So what you're doing is, so the more authority you give one person doesn't have a review process or public notice or public hearing or anything else, more authority you have with that, like the appeal that's built into the regulations is a check on that relatively viewed power. So right now, and I'll give you a perfect example, in the past, there was not a ton of scrutiny that was occurring on building permits with accessory structures, for example. Haley showing up saw a pretty good gaping hole in one of the processes that's zoning in the office and is creating a few more restrictions on it. Doing that kind of on her own. And so, lost my train for a second. I'll get there. It'll be perfect in a minute. So you have like that appeal process because you're giving that one person without any checks, any other checks, balances, there's it as a check. And to your point, inherently a tower, obviously we're having a conversation about towers because they are inherently more eyesore than buildings. So you're like, the question is do you want to strengthen that check on the administrator's authority? Because nobody, yes, they are public record. Unless somebody's checking every single day, unless I'm checking my neighbor, who he might have applied, he might have applied, might have applied. I'm never gonna know.
Right.
Until there's somebody out there building. And by the time they're out there building, the ship has sunk.
I do think if we go this path, could it be something where it's based off a zone district? Where you don't need the CUP? Because I'm like, I think of my house, like behind my house, there's like my property's on like an acre. I'm like, man, if someone just bought that vacant lot and put up a tower right there, I would not be happy. Like that is residential zoning, the primary use needs.
So you're suggesting administrative permit in certain zones,
Certain
certain
zone
districts,
districts.
CUP, yeah.
Talked about at the beginning of the meeting, is having it be a accepted use or by right use in certain zoning types.
I think that goes back to like to the heavy industrial zoning, where maybe that could be more of the permit versus if it is in residential. Or
Residential, yeah. I think if you're in zoning type.
this land.
Lance, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Sometimes you guys are hard to hear here.
It's because we babble a lot, I think.
So the one question I would have about the appeal process, so say there's not a conditional use permit required for a small cell facility, but Haley issues a building permit, but yet there's the possibility of someone making a complaint and forming a challenge request with that. I think that may run afoul with some of the shot clocks as kind of a way to get a conditional use permit without it being a conditional use permit. And when we talk about small cell facilities, everyone has a different thing that comes to mind when we talk about that. Some think about a small little lattice tower. Some think about just some antennas mounted on an existing structure. And I think there's some distinction to be had between the two of those as well when we talk about these kind of facilities. And I actually sent Haley some pictures of some small cell facilities that we have around the county or nearby the county that are actually mounted on existing structures. And that was part of the questions that I actually had about some of this, which is, should a small cell facility like the one that you're seeing here that's mounted on the roof of a building, should this be a permitted, should this require a permit if it's just being used for the few surrounding neighbors? Or is this the kind of stuff that you guys want to encourage more of versus full cell, full towers themselves?
That was one of my questions too, like, and it says, we're talking about small wireless installations, not really towers.
Those are like the south.
And what does that, yeah, okay.
Not
Right. What exactly are we talking?
Yeah, like all this stuff, I think you should be able to permit.
If shot
Yeah.
clocks, you go.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, you have 5 minutes to wrap this up.
5
Oh,
minutes.
wow.
Oh,
I'm out. I'm gonna
Done.
catch these last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 10 to 7.
It's
just-
They finally got us a bill,
Let's work on that.
but Raiders have the ball.
wireless installations.
Okay, so should a building permit
Thirty.
still be required for exempt facilities, AKA ham radios, for safety review only?
What's in place now? Is that what it is? you just have a,
I don't think anything.
I don't even know what our safety would be. Just
Be making sure it's inside the setback.
it would be the same.
I think that's fine. I can double check all these.
so it said, should a building permit still be required? So there is a
So
building
there is
Is there?
for safety review,
For
for a safety review?
for an exempt.
Should a building permit still be required for exempt facilities for safety review only? What exactly is that?
So right now,
It's,
you still have to build, you still have to have a building.
for
So
exempt
so it
facilities,
shouldn't
though.
be for all
But
exempt.
question, so it would go to how much are we exempt?
But we're saying that they are exempt, but what all does this mean? What are, they're exempt from the CUP?
Or are they exempt from?
Well, so that's the thing. Are we talking about all exempt facilities or just ham radios? Because if you go through all exempt facilities, that includes antennas that are attached to existing facilities. You're talking about,
Please, no. Please.
I-
no.
I know, temporary wireless facility that provides communication for any emergency management services. I mean, it's only temporary. County facilities. So should it instead of exempt facilities, just for ham radios?
So what's the exemption for ham radios? Is that because it's like,
we can't. It's
Because the FCC
but-
regulates.
right,
Yeah.
are we allowed to require a building permit?
We just set myself a note to verify. We are.
If we are, then I would say, I think it would be
So you're
reasonable.
exempting it from the.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Like I said, I think if, I would be okay with that, just clarifying that not exempt facilities, but just specifically ham radios.
if it's exempt from all regulation, then we could be like that kid on Stranger Things and just go build them whatever hill we want it. Right? Or
Okay.
You want to know?
Should the,
Yeah,
Utah.
Utah, fourth or
So-
third?
Can-
Yeah.
can
All
I
right,
just-
no, it's the end of the second and then they meter in the third. All right.
Because this is a very timely process, is there some things that we can take on individually? Might make this a little bit faster process. Haley?
so
I thought we did.
something I will say is thank you for doing this. To me, this is a way better process than going through.
You can just say thank you. We're out of time. I'm sorry. You can't do this big, long,
Because now I don't have. to
phrase.
do
You can
this.
tell her after the meeting, but
Seriously?
The challenging part is our next meeting is on November 20th. So that's 2 weeks away. I have to have the agenda published on the 13th. So I feel like I'm always cramming to get you guys stuff at a time. So we do have a minor subdivision and rezone on the 20th. I think we could talk about this stuff on the 20th. I don't know if we're going to be able to have anything drafted, but maybe we could just continue the questions.
That's what I was gonna say. So we have half of 5 done and all of 6. I mean, so not a lot, but what if you guys,
Six.
if you want to continue, finish the questions, you would have, if you got time that you could work on the stuff we have done, but if not, and then follow through at the next meeting.
I think so. I think we should try to really complete all the questions by the next meeting, and if anyone has more questions.
Oh, please, no more questions.
Do you feel like this is a good list? Or
I think
should
this
we?
is great.
Yeah.
I think this is
I
really
do.
good.
I think it's a great approach to it. Yes. Are you gonna make fun of
He
Clay?
said, great job. That was it.
No, he repeated it several times. Great job.
It was a stutter, not it wasn't like a, Haley, I just really want you to know that I really have to.
Put you in the throat.
901.
Yeah, ding ding. All right. I am joining this. Yes, that adjourning this workshop at 9:01. Thank you, everyone that showed up and everyone online. We really appreciate it. Have a great night. Safe travels. Bon voyage. Sayonara.
Thank you.